What's going on, fellow A-Plusers? It is I, your host as always, Adam Perez, coming through once again for our brand new episode of A-Plus Hero Report, your weekly stop for your Marvel, DC television, and movie news, going live for you guys today over on YouTube, along with streaming live over on our Facebook page today, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much for certainly joining us here as we're here to go ahead and wrap up your weekend the right way. So good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's had a fantastic weekend so far. I know I certainly have. It's been a rather eventful past week or so. But we've got ourselves a brand new episode here. And you guys know how it works around here. We got 6 topics that we're going to be breaking down for you guys today, along with your live viewer questions towards the end of this particular episode. But before we do that, we always get into some honorable mentions, some things that didn't necessarily quite make the cut, but we felt that you certainly deserved to hear about. If you do have any live viewer questions that you want to go ahead and submit over, you can submit them over at any particular point in time to aplusopinions@gmail.com. Again, that's aplusopinions@gmail.com. If you read a news article, if you read a rumor or theory, if you're watching a movie or a television series, you want to talk about it, feel free to go ahead and submit your question over at any particular point in time during the week, and we'll definitely go ahead and tackle them at the end of our episode. But who we got in the live chat here today? We got Datilla certainly in the house. We got Marcelino Vasquez certainly joining us as always. And listen, guys, as we wind up getting more stragglers, more viewers, certainly make them feel welcome and part of the family to definitely add to the discussion of all the topics that we have today. So it's not just myself, while we don't necessarily have the full round table being presented to you guys today, always coming through for us each and every week, guys. Stuart Branscom's in the house. What's going on, Stu? Good to see you, man.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, man. How's your week been so far? I'm loving it. What kind of shirt is that? A Star Wars shirt, but what is it?
Oh, it's like a shirt with Ray on it.
Oh, nice. Okay.
It almost looks like it's meant to be like a rebellion propaganda, like join the rebellion, help serve the galaxy.
I wasn't sure if it was like a wanted poster or something of like the First Order trying to find her sort of thing, but it's like a propaganda kind of poster, huh?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. I don't know.
That's pretty cool.
The more actually that's a good point too. It might be a wanted poster with Ray on it too. I don't know.
Let's see here. Who else we got in the live chat? We got Cyril joining us. What's up, Cyril? Thank you very much for certainly coming through. Good to see you. What you been up to this week, man? How's work been?
Oh, dude, work's been there's a reason I'm a little bit behind on Superman and Lois, so I do apologize for that. I plan to do an episode review of 1 through 3 this upcoming Wednesday, basically, to kind of make up for the 2 that I've already missed. But yeah, it's been a bit crazy at work. Just trying to figure out that perfect balance of like basically being able to have enough employees so like we don't ever feel like overwhelmed, but at the same time it's also the slow season, so we got to be careful not to schedule too much, and trying to figure out that balance has been a bit of a challenge, definitely.
Yeah, I can imagine that'd be pretty tough, especially I'm sure some people probably want more hours than they're probably getting, sort of thing, with all the people on board. That does make things a little difficult. So I definitely feel you there, man.
If it were up to me, I wouldn't mind, just constantly giving everyone a full schedule, even if it's slow. It's like, I don't care. Like, cause I feel like, the busy times definitely make up for the slower times, for sure. So, but, unfortunately, when it comes to corporations, they don't necessarily see it that way. So they see it as, oh, nope, slower days. So you got to cut back.
No, I feel you, man. I feel you. And yeah, whenever you can get to Superman and Lois, I have not had the opportunity to watch this season yet. I definitely want to go ahead and dive into it. I'm not sure exactly what the first 2 episodes have certainly featured, but hopefully it's kicked off season 2 pretty well. I have been kind of invested a little bit more in Naomi. We are doing Naomi reviews here on the channel. So if you guys have been fascinated, kind of intrigued about maybe tackling that new DC TV property, definitely check us out. We do reviews every Wednesday night, or at least trying to drop it Wednesday afternoon, or at least Thursday afternoon for you guys. So we're doing Boba Fett currently. We're doing Naomi. I think Batwoman is possibly returned. I know Indy wasn't feeling too well, so he should be back on his game when it comes to Batwoman, and whenever the Flash is certainly set to return. Has the Flash returned yet at all?
Oh no, Flash isn't returning until like
March, something like that, right? Okay, yeah. So yeah, we definitely got some time, but so Superman and Lois certainly will be back for you guys, so definitely go ahead and check that out. But yeah, it's all about balancing that life schedule, man, with other things that you have to deal with. So I totally get it, Stuart. Totally get it. Let's see here. Marcelino saying that Superman and Lois is pretty good. Yeah, I haven't
Mhm.
checked out this season so far, so I'll definitely take your word for it, Marcelino. Let's see here. Before we get into the main topics, Stuart, as always, we do have some honorable mentions. Don't know if you have any honorable mentions this week, or maybe a recommendation. Sometimes, what do you got for us?
Well, I got two honorable mentions, but I want to let you go first because I feel like at least one of them is something that you probably have as your honorable mention.
Oh, maybe. I don't know how much stuff I have for honorable mention this week. I have two things off the top that I definitely know. First honorable mention, Paramount is delaying a couple of their movies this time around. We're going to be having to wait a little bit longer. I want to say that the A Quiet Place, they actually had a spinoff that was originally set for March 31st of 2023. It's now been delayed until September 22nd of 2023. So for those of you who are big fans of A Quiet Place franchise, they are continuing to expand and grow that after the first two successful films. So there is a spinoff coming. It was again set for March 31st of next year, now being pushed to September 22nd. But Stuart, that's not really even the biggest sort of delay from Paramount, as it seems as though we're going to have to wait a little bit longer for Mission Impossible, man. I was not expecting this, but yeah, Mission Impossible 7 and 8 have officially been delayed with brand new release schedules. So Mission Impossible 7 was originally supposed to drop July 13th of next year, but that has a new delay now. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Mission Impossible 7 will launch on July 13th. It was scheduled to actually drop this year, September 30th. It was supposed to drop this year, but they've now officially moved Mission Impossible 7 to July 13th. And then Mission Impossible 8 moves from July 7th of 2023 all the way to June 28th of 2024. So almost an entire year separates at least Mission Impossible 8 from where it was before. So from September 30th to July 13th for Mission Impossible 7, and from July 7th of 23 to June 28th of 24, Mission Impossible 8. So I'm a little bit bummed, man. I really do love the Mission Impossible franchise and just the energy that Tom Cruise has really brought to just that franchise and the crazy stunts that this guy continues to pull. There's something that I read that they're even thinking about building a set piece in freaking space for maybe one of his next Mission Impossible films, or maybe for 8. I have no idea, but so a little bit bummed that we're gonna have to wait a little bit longer for a Mission Impossible movie.
I I kind of hope they don't do this. As much as I love movies, when you're spending that much money to make a film, that's where I feel like you're going a little bit too far. I feel like that's just very much unnecessary. Use that money for better things, please. Don't like build a set in space. That's just my opinion. But no,
No, I
I'm
get
actually
it.
kind of surprised they planned these movies that far ahead. I honestly just thought these movies were kind of like done one at a time. So I didn't know that they already had like 8 planned out. So that's surprising.
Yeah, I do wonder if eight's going to be sort of the wrapping up of the series, or if they just have a massive story that needs to be sort of told in two parts or not. But so yeah, a little bit bummed that that's definitely going to be happening. I was looking forward to the next Mission Impossible, so we're just going to have to wait almost like a whole nother year, man, for this movie to actually drop. It is one of those things where I guess with the delays, I guess with everything that we've gotten going on with the COVID variants and stuff, and more people considering the idea of shutting some things down. I mean, has your theater ever talked about that idea with the Omicron? Like, the company might shut down for a little bit, or no?
As far as I know, there haven't been any talks about it. But I think okay, so here's the thing that makes me think that maybe not like the managers at my theater, but I think like the corporation itself is kind of preparing for it. So when I was originally hired on, I was supposed to be getting paid salary, but because they wanted to do like kind of a probation period, so currently I'm being paid hourly at the moment, and I'm wondering if that actually is because of Omicron. If like a part of it is like they're worried that they're going to get shut down, so they don't want to have another person on their payroll who just to pay money to that isn't going to be able to actually do any work there. Which that's one thing I'm going to say that I actually wouldn't blame them for if that ended up being the case. Because it's like, yeah, honestly, that's kind of understandable. But yeah, that's what's making me think it is a possibility. I really hope not, though, because I actually do really like this job, and I like getting paid. So I really hope we don't get shut down.
Yeah, as we all do. I was just kind of curious because with Mission Impossible 7 being all the way set to release September 30th, I figured maybe
Mhm.
that's a significant amount of time for, just tides to change a little bit in the story of the pandemic. And maybe by next September, maybe things are in a little bit of a better position, but to kind of maybe position themselves for early, early summertime, at least for the following year, does make me scratch my head a little bit. Unless they just think, listen, that's probably the best opportunity. Maybe we originally wanted to have this movie released during the summertime. We felt like maybe that's the best opportunity to take advantage of the box office. So maybe it's more or less that than the idea of variance and shutting movie theaters down. I think maybe it's just a positioning it to have a bigger performance at the box office than, say, a September 30th release date. You know what I mean? Maybe that's onto
Mhm.
something too.
I got to be careful how I word this, because YouTube, when you say the word virus or anything COVID related, they tend to demonetize or block videos and stuff. So I'll be careful on how I word this. But I've been seeing articles, and I'm wondering if this is like, producers looking at these articles and assuming there might be a legitimacy to them, even though I personally think they're all BS. But I keep seeing these articles saying, "Oh, COVID is going to be, finished by March for sure. Like, this isn't going to last that much longer." And it's so clear that these guys have zero credentials, and I'm just kind of like, yeah, I don't know where you're getting this from, but at least in the Bay Area, I can tell you it's going to be around for quite a bit.
Yeah, we'll definitely see how everything winds up turning out. But yeah, guys, delays are still a thing when
Mhm.
it comes to movie theaters and just releasing of these films. So definitely something we're gonna have to keep an eye out on. Other quick honorable mention here: Knives Out 2. They made an announcement over on Variety this week that they're expected to drop Knives Out 2 this upcoming late 2022. It says it's going to be streaming on Netflix this fall. It says that Variety has learned exclusively that writer and director Ryan Johnson's highly anticipated sequel is set to be released in theaters and the streaming platform in the last quarter of 2022. So you're going to get the opportunity to see it not only in theaters, but also straight to streaming, which we know already that when it comes to Knives Out, Netflix paid a shit ton of money for the next two sequels of Knives Out. So I think in this case, Stuart, when we always talk about the idea of, oh man, I can't believe, uh, Warner Brothers is releasing this movie on streaming and theaters sort of same day. And we kind of worry about, the idea of doing that, financially, not necessarily recouping the money that you put towards the film, right? Kind of undercutting yourself, if you will. Whereas in this sense, when it comes to Knives Out 2, I kind of dig this idea for one reason, really, because they've already been paid. You know what I mean? Like Netflix has already paid them for the production of this film, if not a little bit more. And now the idea that you are releasing this in theaters too, it feels like, oh, this is like kind of chump change on the side that we can kind of gather and put in our pockets a little bit more as well. So it feels like they're kind of dabbling into the bucket twice, if you will. I kind of don't mind the strategy here. I think you're muted.
Yeah, that makes total sense for a movie like Knives Out, for sure. I think the only issue I kind of still have about releasing them both on streaming services and theater simultaneously really is more just it sucks for the people working on the movie who know it was a success and a great film that have like a lot of people watching it, but the numbers won't show it. And that's kind of like the issue we've had this past couple of years for a lot of really good movies that have also come out on HBO Max, is that you can't really measure how successful they actually are because of the pandemic. It's really hard to say what would have been like a successful movie if it was pre-pandemic and everything like that.
Very, very much so. Absolutely. What's the honorable mention that you have next, Stuart?
I'm really surprised you didn't bring up this first one. Okay, so the second one is actually a very positive honorable mention. This first one is very negative, but yeah. So Joss Whedon, man, did you see that interview that he went off on, or did
Yes,
you
I
read
did.
about it in the?
Yeah, I did. I read the article. Yeah.
talk about digging your own grave and just like filling it with cement or something. I don't know. Like, I can't think of an analogy to like of how stupid he has to be to like think like anything he said in that interview would work in his favor at all. Like,
It was brutal.
even if like let's pretend in this hypothetical scenario that Joss Whedon is 100% right about everything he says in this interview, that like everyone was just mean to him on the set of Justice League, which I find very hard to believe. But let's pretend that that's real. You don't like, in an interview go on and say, oh, well, he's just a really bad actor. Oh, well, she just can't understand English, like
That's a bad look, bro. That's a
it's
terrible
a
look.
horrible look. So yeah, I think it's kind of safe to say Joss Whedon just like shot his career in the head. And
It's funny. It's funny too
like
because I think Gal Gadot actually responded
she did.
to
I
him.
understood
Yeah,
perfectly is what she said.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's like funny because, I know he can't possibly be stupid because he's a brilliant writer. But so it's like, it makes me think one of two things. Either he's been hiring ghost writers this whole time because, I mean, he did grow up rich. So maybe he was able to afford that. Or he really wants his career to be over. He really wants the fans to hate him. I can't think of any other logical explanation to like explain this interview because there's no way anyone could be that stupid. Like, it's just mind blowing to me.
Yeah, like I think like Josh Whedon sometimes needs like a mouthpiece for him or like somebody that can filter out the things that he wants to say and say it in a much better light. Because yeah, it was brutal. If you guys haven't had the opportunity to check out the Josh Whedon interview, we do have a snippet at least over on our Facebook page from superherohype.com, but it also does lead to the bigger overall New York article in which they interviewed Josh Whedon, kind of talking about a lot of the allegations that he's had towards him, not only on the Justice League set, but also from his time in Buffy the Vampire Slayer sort of thing. It is one of those things where, a lot of us really admired the guy over the years. The article talks about just how much of like a fanboy genius this guy was, right? Like a lot of people held him in really high regards at the top of the mountain sort of thing, just because of all the fantastic work that he's done, what he was capable of doing with sort of like the Avengers and stuff. But it is amazing, when you see the veil sort of removed from people's eyes and you get the opportunity to see how people really are sort of behind the scenes and in their lives. And I think it's just another sort of reminder not to put all of your faith and like belief in these people, right? Because at the end of the day, as great as they are at producing and creating things that we love, they still are humans, right? And they still do have faults and mess up and say the wrong shit and have the terrible personalities that you'd never sort of imagine, sort of thing. And honestly, just hearing some of his responses and his answers to things, it does feel like sometimes he's even there are some times I think that he recognizes his own faults, but other times when I think he's just really oblivious, to just how he treats people and his reactions to certain things. And I don't know if that's like a confidence thing, an arrogance thing, because he's gotten away with so much over the years. Times and climate certainly has changed, but still, just to not have that like that recognition sometimes of the shit that you're saying. He definitely puts his foot in his mouth a couple of times during this interview that makes me scratch my head. The Gal Gadot one really just kind of was really cringeworthy to me. Just the idea of saying, well, English isn't her second language. So she might, English is her second language. So she may not have even understood what I was saying. I'm just like, damn, Josh, like, really? Like, I'm pretty sure Gal Gadot knows exactly what the fuck you're talking about. Like, her English is not that bad. Like, really, that's the shot that you're going to take, and then calling Ray Fisher a bad actor. I will say this, while I absolutely loved him in Justice League, I did recently just see him in something else. And I was thinking to myself, this doesn't feel like a good Ray Fisher performance to me, but that's just me from the other movie that I wind up watching him in. But I loved him in Justice League. I thought he did perfect as Cyborg and really carried that story. But yeah, if you guys haven't checked out the Josh Whedon interview, it is up on our Facebook page. I would recommend it. Muted.
Well, here's the thing I noticed about Ray Fisher's performance in Justice League is that in the theatrical cut, it's not very good to me, but like in
I get
the
you.
Zack Snyder cut, I thought he was excellent.
Yeah,
So
me
I
too.
think it really just comes to like, you know, how he was feeling on set, or you know, just which director he was working with. So you know, if he's working with the director he gets along with, maybe that's what improves his performance, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. It's certainly a possibility. Shout out to Nathan Moore. He says, "Shake my head. It's his huge ego." Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, we definitely have helped inflate it over the years for sure as a
Yeah, I mean,
fan
I'm
base.
guilty of it because I was a
Yeah.
huge, you know, Buffy, Angel, Firefly fan.
Yeah, and I still love this stuff. I still love the
Mhm.
stuff that he's wound up creating. It's just terrible that he's had that sort of toxic sort of behind the scenes situation a lot of times. And Nathan
Sure.
says Naomi, yes, we are reviewing Naomi for the DC television series. What's your other honorable
Which
mention? You got one more?
Yeah, Naomi. Perfect transition to my other honorable mention. There is a crossover coming to the Arrowverse, although not the traditional kind of crossover. This is going to be a six-part comic book crossover, but it is going to have the writers, unlike the other tie-in comic books that they've done in the past. This one will actually have the writers of the show working on it, and it
Mm,
sounds like it's a lot more planned out than the Crisis tie-in comics. So you know, the biggest thing I had against the Crisis comics was that there were so many continuity errors, because you could tell it was written before they started shooting,
mm,
because they had like all these ideas of how it was going to play out, but then of course, you know, when it came to shooting, I guess things turned out
oh
a lot
wow.
differently.
Uh-huh.
And because of that, the Crisis comic book tie-in has a lot of plot holes that kind of don't make sense when you think about it. So this one though is supposed to be a lot more thought out, a lot more planned, and it has, again, the writers of the show like actually working on it. So it's going to be six parts. First part's going to be, I believe, Batwoman. Second part is Superman and Lois. I believe the third part is Legends of Tomorrow, and they didn't say what's going to happen after that, or they might have. I don't remember, but they did say that Stargirl was eventually going to be introduced into the Arrowverse this way. And again, with it being canon, it means that probably for future crossovers, if they bring in Stargirl, you know, just don't be surprised if the Flash and
Interesting.
Stargirl actually know each other because of this comic book
For the
event.
interesting. So are they gonna be like one shot comics? Like,
Uh,
because there's no
yeah.
Legend of Tomorrow comic
Oh no,
series, so
yeah.
I'm assuming it's just gonna be a one shot for each of these?
Yeah, it's going to be one shot comic. Each of them, yeah, are going to be one shots, but they're all going to be under the label of Earth Prime. It's going to be like the main title.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah, six parts, and then each part, it's supposed to be kind of like standalone for the most part, but then it ends with a tie-in or like a teaser for like the main crossover, which is supposed to be issue number 6.
Okay.
And what's really cool is that we're going to get like an origin story for the Superman that was on John Henry Irons' Earth. So, like, any questions people still had about, like, you know, why that Superman turned evil and the Superman on our Earth didn't. I assume the comic book is going to give us like clarification on all that.
Oh, that's cool, man. I'll be really curious. I mean, I guess that almost feels like if you're a big Arrowverse fan, this is almost like a must pick up if you are a sucker for continuity and canon sort of thing, just to know exactly everything that's going on in the world. I hadn't heard that. I don't know if it was you or Indy. Maybe you guys posted that article just recently, either on the Facebook or Instagram Messenger that we're talking on sort of thing. I haven't got a chance to read it, so I'm glad you wind up bringing that up. One quick last honorable mention I'll go ahead and throw in there, Stuart. I don't know if you saw this past week, but Amazon Prime just revealed the opening tease or the opening credits for their upcoming Lord of the Rings series, The Rings of Power. Did you get the opportunity to check that out by any chance?
Yeah, I thought it looked pretty cool. You know,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
about it.
they don't really give any like storyline details or anything like that away, but it's literally just them forging the title of the show. I honestly thought it was special effects when I originally watched it, but it's actually all practical. Like they're
Oh.
yeah, they also did like a little behind the scenes clip of how they wind up filming the Rings of Power opening, and you literally see they're actually like welding this stuff together and pouring the malt in and pouring the water over to cool it off. I mean, it's pretty damn incredible. I honestly thought it was a complete special effects shot. But if you guys haven't had the opportunity to check it out, again, there is a promo for for the Lord of the Rings series on Amazon up on our Facebook page for the opening title sequence, The Rings of Power. I highly recommend you check it out for yourself, and then even try and find the behind the scenes exclusive of how they wind up putting it together. It's pretty brilliant stuff, man. So I'm really pumped for it. This has been a long time coming for me as a Lord of the Rings fan. So I'm really hyped for that series. What are you looking forward towards the series too?
Yeah, definitely. I'm really curious what it's going to look like, because it sounds like, from the stuff we've talked about it before, like it's going to be probably the most expensive TV show out there. So yeah, I'm really excited to see, like, more than anything, like what it looks like. I also am kind of curious, like, what continuity it's going to go under, if it's in its own world, if it's like connected to the books, or is it like connected to the movies? All that kind of stuff.
I
All
want
those
to say
questions
it,
I have, yeah.
yeah, I want to say it is connected to the overall books and movies sort of thing. So I am curious to see some connective tissues for that particular series. But all right, guys, I think that's going to do it for all of our honorable mentions here today. So if anything, we're going to go ahead and dive into our main topics to go ahead and kick off this week. And Stuart, you ready to go ahead and get into these? I'm really excited for a lot of these topics today.
Yeah, same here. Definitely. But I'm going to log out real quick and then
Okay.
log back in. That way I'll be able to handle the banners when I get back.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I think Andy sent you the code. Yeah, go right ahead, and
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and kick this off. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and get into our first topic here today. Because listen, there's another DC movie right around the corner that's set to go ahead and drop this upcoming March. I'm not even quite sure if tickets have officially gone on sale yet, but I am keeping my ears very much close to the ground for once the announcement does officially happen. But the Batman will be here before we know it, guys. And because it's going to be here in less than 2 months, the marketing push for this movie has continued in a major way. This past week, we got a ton of reveals for you guys. We wind up getting not only brand new posters here this week, which I think you guys would certainly enjoy. I love this close-up shot view. We also got the opportunity to see Robert Pattinson along with Zoe Kravitz as Batman and I almost say Batwoman and Catwoman here. Absolutely loving just the cinematography and just the colors, the tone and the vibe that's just being set when it comes to these posters and just everything that we've seen so far. So the marketing push has continued. It's not just posters or anything like that too, guys, but they also went ahead and revealed to us the actual official theme for the Batman by Michael Giacchino. We've gone ahead and put a link over on our Facebook page if you haven't had the opportunity to check it out. The theme itself is about anywhere between 6 to 7 minutes long, if I'm not mistaken. It sounds fantastic. So we've gotten the opportunity not only to see new posters, but we've also got the opportunity to hear the brand new sound. Well, not the full soundtrack, but at least the theme itself that we've seen running along in a lot of the trailers and clips so far. Outside of that, what else have we learned this week? The Batman movie itself, the runtime was officially revealed this week as well, clocking in at 2 minutes and 47 or 2 hours and 47 minutes. So I think this is like the second or third. I think this might actually be like the third longest DC movie that they've ever filmed, if I'm not mistaken. Also, there's been a ton of stuff that has been revealed this past week, Stuart. I was just mentioning to them the character posters, well, not the character posters, but some of the posters that we've gotten so far for the Batman. They also went ahead and mentioned, did you get the opportunity to listen to Michael Giacchino's soundtrack?
Not the full soundtrack, but I listened to the Water Tower and then the main theme. And yeah,
The main
both.
theme.
I gotta say they were perfect, because like when I came home from work last night at around like 3 o'clock in the morning, I needed something to like listen to fall asleep to, and I realized I still hadn't checked them out, and I needed to for this morning. So it was like the perfect songs to listen to like while falling asleep, especially because what I like about them is they both feel like they're telling a story, and like you can kind of like put a story together in your head without actually having seen the movie. Yeah, so I I really like both of them so far.
Yeah, they both sound great, man. I listened to the main theme several times already. I didn't listen to the you said the Watchtower or the Water Tower?
Water Tower, I think that's what the song was called.
Okay, I hadn't listened to that one yet, so I'm gonna have to certainly go ahead and check it out. They also went ahead and revealed to us not only just the soundtrack and posters, but also the runtime coming in at 2 minutes or two. I always keep saying 2 minutes, 2 hours and 47 minutes. Who wants to see a 2 minute Batman film? 2 hours and 47 minutes. I like the time. I do. I like the length. I feel like when it comes to Matt Reeves, what he's certainly trying to do in regards to truly making this a detective story, I really want to see this story sort of very much fleshed out with twists and turns. Great focus on the characters. I think at 2 hours and 47 minutes, I think that's a good length of time, honestly. And I feel like there was actually, I read somewhere that there might have been an even longer cut of the movie originally, before they maybe even like a 4 hour cut for this movie at some point in time. So I'm glad they didn't go overboard with it. But I think 2 hours and 47 minutes is like the perfect amount of time.
Yeah. The idea of like having any movie if you're going to release it theatrically, unless it's a special event, it should never be over 3 hours, because you're not going to make money that way. Because even if it's a big movie, you're not going to be able to schedule enough show times at movie theaters and things like that. So for the most part, I think like keeping it under 3 hours is the smart way to go. And I think like for this one, 2 hours 47 minutes plus like the credits, which I think bring it up to like 2 hours 55 minutes. I'm totally okay with that with a Batman movie. The big thing is, as long as it's a good movie, I don't mind it being long. The thing is, though, if it's a bad movie and it's long and I see it in theaters, I tend to be a lot more annoyed by that. So
I can understand.
Yeah, because you got to plan it as part of your day of how you're gonna like find the time to watch it. So then if it ends up being bad, you get more mad. But I don't think that'll be the case with this. The trailers have been incredibly impressive so far, and it looks like a kind of world that I want to stay in for 3 hours. So. Yeah. And if it's good and if it does really well in theaters, if there is a 4-hour cut of it, I would love to see it on DVD or Blu-ray, of course.
Yeah, let's get it on HBO Max as like an extra or like a special or something like that. I think that would probably work too. Yeah, the only time I would really worry about it, like I guess for me, depending on the pacing of this particular film, right? It does feel pretty dreary in and of itself. Some of the things that we're going to be exploring. So I do wonder if if it is a little bit of a slower paced film at times. I guess for me, when it comes to 2 hours and 47 minutes, just hoping that Matt Reeves knows when to sort of punch us in the face and then reel back, right? Like it is a lot. I think it has to do with a lot of momentum swings, especially when you're dealing with a lot of emotions and just intensity sort of thing. If you do have a lot of dialogue with these characters, you don't want to necessarily drag out a lot of long sequences in a sense. So I think as long as the pacing of this film is pretty good, I think we might be in pretty good hands here with whatever Matt Reeves is definitely creating for us. We also get the opportunity this week, and it actually just dropped yesterday, Stuart, a brand new clip. The first official clip for the Batman was released in like ad form over on YouTube, like just in between somebody going from one video to the next. Here's a 2-minute ad for you guys, and it's an actual Batman clip that focuses on, we've seen this clip in the trailer before, but Bruce Wayne sort of in the church, where he's surrounded by a bunch, I don't know if it's like a eulogy or they're going to somebody's funeral, but this car winds up just kind of coming through the church and crashing into the pews and things like that. So they get the opportunity to actually show an extended clip of that particular scene from the trailer. And Stuart, it's intense, man. It's intense. I mean, the fact that you don't even see Bruce Wayne saying a bit of dialogue, it's really just all Robert Pattinson emoting and then just listening in on sort of Jim Gordon's conversation. I love the way that this was visually shot, and the music goes along great. The intensity is there. It left me really wanting more. Stuart, how about you, man?
Yeah, you said it perfectly. It left me wanting more, and that's exactly what it was supposed to do. I do think the way they revealed it, like as a YouTube ad, that was a little bit weird, especially when you have YouTube Red. So it's like I didn't even get a chance to see it like that way, the way it was intended to be seen. So I just watched re-uploads of it. But yeah, the way it's filmed, Robert Pattinson's facial expressions just say so much, and I love that. And then I love how he's kind of there, like seemingly, I don't know how it's actually going to play out in the movie, but I like how it's like he looks like he's there to like legit mourn, but he also has that thing where he's never not working as Batman. So you
Yeah,
just like, that moment where you kind of see him trying to be subtle about
like
listening
eavesdropping.
into the
Yeah.
police, but like, of course, one of them kind of notices him and he tries to like act like he can't hear him and that kind of stuff. I feel like there's a lot going on, and I'm absolutely intrigued, and I can't wait to see how it all plays out into the actual film.
I totally agree. I even really love the shot of when he looks up into the balcony and he sees the group of people and
Mhm.
everybody like gets away from the balcony to go to the door, and then you see Bruce again, and then when you see that shot, it's just the lone figure sort of silhouetted by the sunlight sort of thing, and you can kind of tell like that's got to be the Riddler. Like homeboy's there at that particular moment in time when this act is about to go down. And I love the way that Matt Reeves is able to just capture certain scenes, and that was actually one of my favorite scenes from this clip that we wind up getting, and even getting to see the gentleman that winds up getting out of the car too. Just seeing like the bomb and the trigger and the note for Batman sort of thing. I'm just thinking to myself like this is going to be a PG-13 movie. Like man, I'm there's a sense of like horror and just a sense of like I don't know, just something that there's a terrifying aspect, I think, to this Batman film that I'm really intrigued to kind of see how Matt Reeves is going to capture it. But I love the clip, man. It was like just 2 minutes that I didn't expect it at all, but I absolutely loved it. And I'm not the type of person that likes to fall in love and constantly watch new clips that are released over and over and over until the actual release of the film. But for the very first official clip, I had to, man. I gave in. I had to
Mhm.
check it out myself.
Yeah. Absolutely stunning so far. Again, performances also, not just for Robert Pattinson, but like, yeah, for every like everyone in that scene. From Commissioner Gordon, and I don't know why I forgot the actor's name. And then even from like just some of the shots, like the one that you brought up that I agree was so amazing was the one that's clearly the Riddler up there on the balcony. Yeah, looks awesome.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. And Matt Reeves this week also did kind of open up a little bit because again, the marketing push is here. Matt Reeves is definitely going to be opening up and talking a little bit more about this movie. Again, clocking in at 2 hours and 47 minutes. There's a lot in this movie that I don't think we've even been privy to or has been revealed to us. Like I am kind of curious just off of the trailers that we've seen, how much of that of time is allotted from the actual movie itself. So there's definitely plenty to be told. So when Matt Reeves definitely opens up about this film, trust me when I say there's definitely more behind this story than I think even Matt is certainly letting us in on. But I wanted to go ahead and bring this up, Stuart, because I thought this would be a cool discussion topic when Matt Reeves discusses the Batman, revealing the Riddler's villain plot and says the film is almost a horror movie. This comes to us from the Wrap. It says the reboot was inspired by the 1970s era classic like All the President's Men and Chinatown. It says in a new cover story at Movie Maker magazine, revealed what the villain, the Riddler's dastardly plan entails, some of the specific filmic influences on the superhero adaptation, and the variety of genres in which it traverses. He says the redo introduces Robert Pattinson as Bruce Wayne, but instead of telling an origin story, the film picks up a couple years after Wayne first donned the cape and cowl. And for Reeves, front of mind was telling a genuine detective story. He says this idea of a place that is corrupt and you try to swim against that tide in order to fight against it and make a difference is quintessential Batman. And at the center of those noir stories is almost always the detective, right? And that's why he's the world's greatest detective. And so this story is, in addition to being almost a horror movie and a thriller and an action movie, at its core, it's also very much a detective story. It's very narrative. And I think just checking out that clip, Stuart, that first initial clip, I think that's the vibes that we definitely get, right? Like it's definitely a narrative story, and you can even feel the detective aspects of it. And even like I mentioned, maybe even a little bit of that intensity and horror element that I think goes towards it, like that uncomfortable feeling that you kind of get, sort of thing. You know what I mean? I think he nails it perfectly.
Yeah, it really feels like they're trying to create another really good iconic villain in the same sense of the Joker from the Dark Knight trilogy, where they really want this guy to be someone who can kind of be memorable, but also, you know, be someone who can give you like chills every time he appears. And that's kind of the vibe I get every time I see the new look of this Riddler that they're going with. Like the mask and the glasses that he wears outside of it just give like a sense of unease. And yeah, you know, I definitely see where he's talking about when it comes to some of the horror vibes, because yeah, I definitely kind of get that for every shot you get of the Riddler in this movie.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you there for sure. He also goes on to say, he says, while previous Batman directors have touted their films as detective stories, ultimately that turned out to not be the case. So while Pattinson was initially skeptical, he was won over after reading the script. And he says in the first meeting, he was saying he wanted to lean into the world's greatest detective aspect and be a detective noir movie, is what Pattinson said. And, you know, normally when directors say that, they just do like a mood board, and it's just the imagery. But I read the script and it's a detective movie. It happens all the time in the graphic novels, but it's always kind of a back burner in the movies. And so honestly, Stuart, I'm really glad to hear him mention that idea that this is exactly what we plan on getting. And I feel like something that has always kind of been very much in the background. You know, I mean, maybe we've seen a clip or two of, you know, Batman in the Batcave and letting his, you know, computer analyze stuff and figuring things out, right? But this feels very much more on the nose as to a true kind of detective story than anything that we've gotten so far.
Yeah, one thing I really hope this movie doesn't rely on for telling its detective narrative is, you know, you brought up computers, and so I really hope we don't end up just having kind of MacGuffins in this movie that Batman finds that are able to kind of like tell him the answers for him. I hope like the clues are there, so like audience members who are watching it have to try to figure it out with Batman himself.
That would be
You
pretty
know,
cool.
yeah.
I would like to know if I can figure out the plan before Batman does. So we'll see. Same thing when I watch like other like murder mystery movies, like Death on the Nile. What was the other one? The, you know, Knives Out, right? Like I'm sitting there
Mhm.
too, trying to like put all the pieces together in regards to like who done it. That's always a fun aspect of going to a detective movie. They also mentioned, it says the premise of the movie is that the Riddler is kind of molded in almost a Zodiac killer sort of mode, and is killing very prominent figures in Gotham, and they are the pillars of society. You know, these are supposedly legitimate figures. It begins with the mayor, and then it escalates from there. And in the wake of the murders, he reveals the ways in which these people were not everything that they say that they were, and you start to realize that some kind of that there's some kind of association. And so just like Woodward and Bernstein, you've got Gordon and Batman trying to follow the clues and make sense of this thing in a classic kind of detective story. You know, for some reason when I read this, Stuart, the idea of these legitimate figures in Gotham that he's killing off, the mayor, other people that he's killing, showcasing the idea that they're not everything that they say that they were. I don't know why, for some reason, I'm getting Court of Owl vibes for some reason. You know, the idea of like this underlining society that really has kind of helped and shaped Gotham into certainly what it is today, you know, like this secret society that maybe has, you know, is pulling strings in other ways. And I do wonder if that's a case of maybe not who Riddler is taking out, but what he's trying to reveal to Gotham, that these people aren't who that they say that they are. I mean, granted, they're probably not good people anyway, because they are in fact corrupt. I mean, damn, it is Gotham City, you know what I mean? But I do wonder if for some reason, I don't know why my mind goes back to the Court of Owls in regards to maybe being connected in this. Maybe it's a little bit of a stretch, but I kind of dig the idea and what the Riddler's kind of doing here.
Honestly, yeah, that would make the most sense, because these are the type of people that Batman would never go after, because on paper they look totally legitimate. And even if Batman knew that they were corrupt, you know, what's he going to do about it? He, you know, even as Batman, he has his own limitations. He can't go in and, you know, just beat up a criminal because like he knows he's a criminal, because that's not how the law works. So it's going to be kind of interesting if those are the type of people that the Riddler goes after. And that's why he's fascinated with Batman, because Batman, sticks with the people who are criminals that he can prove are criminals, That's anyways, that's what it sounds like it's going with if they're going in that direction. I'm also very very curious if we're going to find out that if Thomas Wayne was alive, if he would have been one of the people on the Riddler's list. Because it sounds like part of why he's fascinated with the Batman, or why he, is involving the Batman. It sounds like it all has to do with his dad, Thomas Wayne. So I am really curious to see, what kind of big twist we're going to get with some of the people that he kills as to why. Because, a lot of mystery movie, or a lot of movies where that kind of a storyline takes place, you usually tend to get introduced to some of the victims before they get killed off and before like the dark secrets are revealed about them. So I'm kind of curious if some of these deaths, we're going to actually like these characters before we see them dead, because we're going to see only their good side. We're not going to see their darker side,
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And I do think, Wayne's family legacy will definitely be brought up into this story in some capacity. And I do wonder if he's going to be sort of challenged with the idea of having a new view or perspective on maybe his own family, and how they helped either contribute or hurt Gotham sort of in the long run. Maybe I think that would be pretty interesting, just based off of where just Bruce is at in his head sort of mentally, you know what I mean, after the death of his parents and things like that. So I would be kind of curious. Frank W, what's up, Frank? He says, morning all, love the Batman theme. It was a strange combination of menacing and inspirational. And I definitely agree with you. There definitely are combinations of moments where it is truly menacing, where you do hear that those notes from Michael Giacchino that we've heard a lot of when it comes to the trailer itself. So I absolutely love those notes, but there definitely are moments where it definitely feels like an inspirational sort of superhero film. There are moments where it definitely takes me back to like Danny Elfman sort of Batman inspired theme from like the Michael Keaton era, if you will, but more modernized. So I love what Michael Giacchino does. He actually also did the theme for Spider-Man No Way Home also. So if you were big fans of what he's done and other stuff, I definitely would highly recommend you check out his previous work. I think Giacchino is a very an influential modern day composer, and I absolutely love his work. But yeah, I think that's a great way to express it, Frank. Menacing and inspirational. What do you think, Stuart?
Yeah, I'd say definitely with the water tower. I definitely feel less menacing with that one and more inspirational, because it kind of comes off as like kind of a victory song that you usually get at the very tail end of a lot of action movies. But like, yeah, with the main Batman theme, I'd say that's actually a good way to put it, both like menacing and inspirational at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely recommend you check it out. Again, if you want to check it out a sample, I mean, I pulled it up over on Spotify. If you guys have Spotify, I believe we also have a link to it over on our Facebook page. You guys can go ahead and check out. If you haven't checked out the Batman clip as of yet, I did go ahead and put a link in the description box below for you guys. So if you want to go ahead and check out the 2-minute clip, you can certainly go ahead and do that. Datilla says, "What did you guys think of the Riddler costume? He looks like a serial killer." Yeah, you kind of mentioned that a little bit too, right, Stuart?
Yeah, and I mean, I just get a creepy vibe from that mask that he wears. Yeah, he definitely comes off as just not only a serial killer, but the kind of person who like enjoys it too, like really enjoys it.
I love
And likes
Reeves'
to make it last.
comparison to, yeah, I do like Reeves' comparison to the Zodiac killer, because I do get those vibes too.
Yeah, especially like, and I think like if you're gonna make a Zodiac type villain from any of Batman's rogues galleries, I think the Riddler is like the perfect one, because he leaves clues just like the Zodiac killer did. So I'm very curious to see what these actual clues are. And and like I mentioned earlier, I think I'm more curious than anything about if this is a solvable case. Like if I, as a viewer, was really smart watching this movie, would I be able to figure out who the killer is, or what like the main inspiration for the killer is before Batman?
Marcelino does ask. He says, "Are you sure it's a good idea to learn about the Riddler's plot? It might spoil the movie." I think when it comes to 2 hours and 47 minutes, I think just the initial plot. I think there's plenty more story. And honestly, if you
Mhm.
ask me, I think there's a lot more twists and turns and things that aren't that obvious right in front of us, sort of thing. That I think Matt Reeves has a lot to explore. I think when it comes to a detective movie, there's got to be, you know what I mean? There's got to
Yeah.
be more to it.
I'm still predicting that the Riddler, like Edward Enigma in this universe, doesn't exist, and it's going to be Thomas Elliot using the name Edward Enigma as like kind of a what do you call it? Like a persona or something.
Okay, okay, I
That's
kind of dig
that's
it.
that's my current prediction. You know,
I
we'll
kind of
definitely
dig
see where that leads.
I kind of dig it. I kind of dig it. But guys, listen, we want to know your thoughts. The marketing push has continued. Again, I'm pretty sure we're probably going to get more clips, more trailers. Eventually, I think I'm going to wean myself off of these clips. I think we've only gotten one so far, but I'm all for listening to some of the soundtrack pieces because I absolutely love composition work like that when it comes to music. But I'm kind of curious to know what you guys think. How have you enjoyed a lot of the teases that we've gotten so far from the Batman? Has it definitely raised your hype level for this particular movie? I cannot wait for March. I can tell you that much, Stuart. I'm really pumped for this film.
Definitely same here. Same here.
Well, let us know your thoughts, guys, in the live chat or the comment section box below after this particular video airs, and we'll definitely continue to talk about it here also. And as well, guys, listen, if you're not up to what we've been up to behind the scenes, we do have a Discord community for you guys. It was eventually we used to have our Discord available to our Patreon account members, but since we've taken down our Patreon, we have officially made our Discord available to the public. So if you like the forum community sort of setup, definitely go ahead and check us out on Discord. There is a link in the description box below, and I'm pretty sure we'll go ahead and be discussing a lot of these topics behind the scenes in our Discord after during the rest of this week. So definitely go ahead and follow us there also. All right, Stuart, with that out of the way, we will go ahead and move on to our next topic. We'll stay in the realm of DC. But you know who's been in the news lately, Stuart? Jensen Ackles, most notably known from his time over on Supernatural. I think they had like 30 seasons. I can't even quite remember how many they had, but quite successful to certainly say the least. But Jensen Ackles is certainly sticking around in some capacity when it comes to the superhero genre. We could definitely expect him in the second, or I should say, the third season of The Boys, set to go ahead and hit Amazon Prime. He's going to be playing a brand new character in the name of Soldier Boy. So we definitely have that to definitely look forward to when it comes to Jensen Ackles. But Stuart, that's not the only project that he's working on. Apparently, this week, Jensen Ackles came out and mentioned the idea that he's got some secret projects in the work over at WB and DC, and he's not spilling the beans as of yet as to what it is. But I did find it rather interesting, the idea of Jensen Ackles possibly joining the DCEU at some particular point in time. So let's go ahead and read exactly what he had to say, and maybe take some stabs in the dark as to who we could potentially see him portraying in here. But this is coming to us from comingsoon.net that says Jensen Ackles has his fingers crossed for a secret DC role. It says Jensen Ackles has teased that a secret DC property is currently in development and that he hopes to be cast in. It says during a recent appearance on Michael Rosenbaum's Inside of You podcast, Ackles was asked what the one role he would want if he could choose a hero in either the MCU or the DCEU. And then Ackles took a moment to answer before teasing the project. He said, well, there's a DC property that's currently developing with WB and some other good partners that I've got my fingers crossed for. But again, I'm not going to talk about it because you don't want to jinx it. So he doesn't come outright and mention it, but it does say it's unknown what the current project could be. But Ackles' mention of good partners could refer to his past relationship with DC properties. Ackles appeared as Jason Teague in the fourth season of the CW series Smallville, and even voiced various DC superheroes, including Jason Todd, the Red Hood, in the animated film Under the Red Hood, as well as Batman himself in both parts of Batman The Long Halloween. So, yeah, Stuart, Jensen Ackles might be joining the DCEU at some particular point in time. If you had to take your stab in the dark, any ideas as to who you would like to see him play, who you think he could potentially play? Do you, or just in general, like, do you think he would be a good fit for the DCEU? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, he would fit in the DCEU perfectly. Whoever they wanted to cast him as. I mean, there's so many I can think of he would be good for, like Green Lantern, kind of any of the Green Lanterns, really. That or not any of them, but the like Alan Scott, I think he could do, and then I think he could do Hal Jordan just fine. Guy Gardner, but personally, I think if I was casting for him, just because he looks like a military type dude. So I would probably cast him in a military role. So like either maybe like Commander Steel or Captain Atom, like one of those two is kind of the
Oh,
thing that I
okay.
see him as working the best. But yeah, no, finding out that he might be joining the DCE extended universe, that totally fits. Like I think he would fit in perfectly. Personally, though, if I had to choose like one character I think he would be perfect as, but it wouldn't work in the DCEU. It would only really work if it was like part of the CW. Is I would have really loved to have seen him as a CW Batman, which is still a possibility because we got the Gotham Knights TV show coming out. So maybe that was what he was referring to. Who knows? But regardless, like personally, I do think he could have actually made a pretty good Batman at some point.
I got it's funny that you mentioned all those because those were honestly the first ones that came to my head too when I was
Oh,
thinking of like
really?
honestly when I was thinking of Jensen Ackles for some reason the first thing that came to my mind when I was thinking about this Stewart, I thought to myself, he's voiced Red Hood. I can see him portraying a Jason Todd sort of Red Hood, and my mind went to the Gotham Knights series for the CW, but he mentions the idea that it's part of the DCEU, so I'm kind of under the impression that it's more movie related than it is TV related. But I would be cool to be wrong about that. I think the idea of Jensen Ackles as Red Hood would be pretty cool in like a Gotham Knights. And then for some reason, when I look at him, I too think to myself a Green Lantern movie. It is one of those things where I know we've got a series that they are going to be creating for HBO Max, but I feel like Warner Brothers has always talked about the idea of trying to do a Green Lantern movie. But I don't know how far along they are, if that's a trigger they're still trying to pull, or if they are going to just let the HBO Max series do all the heavy lifting for the Green Lantern franchise, certainly going forward. Because you're right, I can see him as all three. I could see him as Alan Scott. I could probably see him even funnier as Guy Gardner if I had to pick and choose. But even Hal Jordan was certainly an option for me too. I feel like he could still capture sort of that 80s or 90s like American machismo vibe of like a Guy Gardner if he wanted to. I think maybe elements of like sort of like the bigoted sort of soldier boy aspect that we're getting, I think might kind of fit for like a Guy Gardner mentality a little bit that he could probably really play up. But no, I think Jensen Ackles is super flexible in regards to what he can play. So I would be really open to this. I think he would fit really well. He's got a great partnership and just great relationship with Warner Brothers. They've used them on several different occasions. I personally haven't even really considered him for like a Batman role or anything like that, Stuart. But you're right, he probably could play a Batman in his own right. I think some people have probably done some fan art of him mocked up as Batman before. Have you seen anything like that before?
I think he was actually dressed up as Batman at one point, if I remember
Oh,
correctly.
really?
Like, yeah,
Like
for like
actual
cosplay
costume?
purposes. But I could be wrong. But yeah, regardless, though, I think like look wise, like not even talking about his acting skills, just I feel like he could pull off the cape and cowl like really well. Like he definitely has that perfect Batman jawline. I think that you kind of have to have as an actor if you're going to be Batman. So yeah, like I definitely look forward to seeing what he's doing. But again, I think like the easiest, if like we're going for like what we know he'd be able to pull off, I think the easiest would definitely be if they go with a military character. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Commander Steel and Captain Atom as like my two like voices for him.
I like it. I like it. And I think also the Batgirl movie is fascinating me. While I don't necessarily think he's going to pop up in the Batman movie. I think what Batgirl is sort of setting the groundwork for now that we're seeing things like a Michael Keaton Batman, things like there's a Robin in this particular world now at some point in time. I think maybe there is even an opening for something like a Nightwing or a Red Hood or these other supporting characters in the Bat family to certainly pop up. I'm not saying that Red Hood's going to get his own movie or anything like that, but if Nightwing gets a film, it'd be pretty cool if Red Hood popped up somewhere. I think there's definitely plenty of opportunity for Jensen Ackles, so this does not surprise me, and I cannot wait to see who he's revealed, and I'm hoping that this actually does get green lit. It sounds like it might be in pretty early development, no announcements as of yet, but once we get some announcements, we'll definitely go ahead and keep you guys posted.
With the Michael Keaton Batman, though, I think like that all really depends on if they decide to go with like a de-aging Michael Keaton for the Batgirl movie, or if not. Because if not, then yeah, I could definitely see Jensen Ackles as like one of Batman's Robins from the past. But if it's supposed to be like, kind of present day, and they use de-aging on Michael Keaton to make him kind of a modern day Batman, then it would probably be like, okay, maybe he's a little bit too old for Nightwing or Robin.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely under the impression that we're gonna get still the aged Batman. I think if anything, maybe we're just pulling the Michael Keaton Batman from his universe and just supplanting him sort of in ours with this Flashpoint thing. So I do think we're still gonna get older Batman, and maybe just some of the murals and stuff that we've seen from the set of Batgirl, in a sense of maybe like that's just Batman and Robin kind of in their prime, but I feel like we're still very much dealing with an older kind of Batman towards the end of his career. So at least that's what I'm under the impression, but who knows if they introduce de-aging technology for Batgirl, but I'm hoping it's an older Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just me. Let's see here. All right. Other than that, guys, look, we want to know your thoughts. What do you think about the idea of Jensen Ackles being on a DCEU project? Who could you potentially see him as? He mentions DCEU, so I'm under the impression it's more movies than it is a television series, but I could certainly be wrong. Maybe we'll get something fleshed out for us a little bit further. But any suggestions as to who you certainly would like to see him play? Go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. All right, Stuart, let's see here. What is the next topic? We are going to change course a little bit. We're actually going to go ahead and dive into some Marvel talk for you guys today, as our next topic that we go ahead and get into. The MCU continues to grow when it comes to Disney Plus, ladies and gentlemen. I think we've been all patiently sitting around on our hands waiting for our next series to go ahead and premiere for us after finishing off Hawkeye, and then of course the Spider-Man No Way Home movie. A lot of us are very much eager for the next upcoming MCU projects, and one of those that I think have been really highly anticipated, Stuart, is that of Oscar Isaac's upcoming Moon Knight, ladies and gentlemen. A very obscure character that I'm not quite sure a lot of people in the general audience are certainly super familiar with, but for comic book fans, they definitely do recognize this character very much, have been really asking for a movie or a TV series for Moon Knight for quite some time. And it's happening, ladies and gentlemen. It's definitely happening. And for those of you who aren't too familiar with Moon Knight, a lot of us are certainly going to be learning about him along the way while watching this particular series. But this week, Stuart, we finally got the opportunity from Marvel that they finally not only unleashed an official poster for the upcoming project. I believe it says, what's that, March 30th, set to go ahead and stream on Disney Plus. So March is turning out to be a great month so far. We at the beginning of the month, we've got Batman, and then at the end of the month, we've got Moon Knight, who some people, Stuart, will say is Marvel's Batman to a certain extent. So not only do we get ourselves an official poster, which I think looks fantastic, honestly, but we also, Stuart, got the opportunity to see our very first official trailer for this movie. I was not expecting this. I mean, well, I can't say I was not expecting this. I think they all the weekend before they were like, it's coming Monday, guys, a full trailer. So it was definitely here, but I don't think I even expected this trailer to be as good as it was, Stuart. But I love this trailer. Let me go ahead and throw this over to you, though. What did you think, Stuart, of the Moon Knight trailer that you got a chance to glimpse for yourself?
So before I get into the trailer, there's a funny comic that you reminded me of when you said Moon Knight is like Marvel's Batman. There was a comic book, it was a Deadpool Spider-Man comic book where it was just basically the two of them in Hollywood and Ryan Reynolds is trying to kill Deadpool. So like Spider-Man and Deadpool have to like try and solve this mystery anyways. But there was a panel where they're passing a poster and it was Moon Knight versus and I don't remember what the other superhero was, but it was basically like the Marvel equivalent of Batman. And the tagline on the poster said, "You won't believe it. Their mothers have the same names."
I love it.
Yeah, so it's pretty funny. So like even Marvel kind of seems to refer to Moon Knight as like the Marvel's Batman. But yeah, that trailer, it gave me major Netflix Marvel Netflix Marvel vibes. Like it feels like a Netflix Marvel show, but if it had a higher budget, because it doesn't look like it's going for too much wit. At least in the trailer. Obviously, like the show itself might be a little bit different, but a lot of like kind of the witty dialogue that you expect to see in Marvel trailers, that was all gone. I really love the way it was all shot. Lot of darkness, I want to say. And then, Oscar Isaac, I don't think I've ever seen him give like a bad performance before. So he looks like he was just like preparing for this role. Like, I don't know if he actually did any method acting for it, but it definitely feels like he's done method acting to prepare for this role. So it looks, everything about it looks great, especially that costume. Like that costume, whoever put that together, come work for me when I start making superhero movies, please.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the mummified look. I really love just the wrappings. The white looks fantastic on it. Yeah, it's a brilliant costume. Honestly, they definitely outdid themselves for sure. But yeah, I agree, man. Like the tone of this whole entire trailer really surprised me. I don't know why I get like M. Night Shyamalan creepy vibes when I watch this trailer, the way that it carries itself. Maybe because he just literally did a movie about split personalities and Split and things like that. So just the idea of going down that path. And honestly, Oscar Isaac just looks at his finest in here. Like he really prepared himself for this particular role, to be able to kind of go and break character and go into other personalities. Also at the same time being a superhero. I mean, I remember us talking about just some of his training videos, and seeing him get the fight choreography and things like that down. Yeah, he's definitely putting his best foot forward in here. And Oscar Isaac is never a slouch, but I think even getting an opportunity to see him in this particular role looks like it's going to be hella fun, just to kind of see how deep diving he's really going to go when it comes to, whether it be was a Steven role, his Mark Spector role, the Moon Knight role. I think Oscar Isaac is going to have a ton of fun with this. But yeah, it hit everything that I wanted to see out of this, from the split personalities, the weirdness, the creepiness from it. Also, this is exactly what I was certainly looking forward to. And even the special effects weren't too bad. I definitely want to see what some of these villains and monsters that he's going to be kind of facing kind of look like. It definitely feels very Egyptian vibes to me. So I'm loving everything that I've seen so far. I truly am.
It was very clear with one of the shots that we see in the trailer. They purposely didn't show him show who he was fighting, because they definitely didn't even finish the VFX for it at the time. I'm pretty sure that's why we didn't get to like fully see him. So it looks like the VFXs, like the digital VFXs, are still being like worked on at this point, which is pretty common for big projects like this. So yeah, only time will tell if those are going to look any good in the final product.
Yeah, but just at least production wise, just also looking at it from a standpoint of comparing it to other MCU Disney Plus series that we've seen, it definitely feels different. Also, it doesn't feel like a WandaVision. It even feels like on a different par and a different level from that of like a Falcon and a Winter Soldier. You know, it feels. Although I will say, on the more cinematic side of things, it feels like Falcon and Winter Soldier. But and I just mean that in the sense of like just its cinematic purpose, or at least the way that is being presented to us. But it very much is like the darkest that I think I've seen when it comes to the Marvel series so far.
Yeah, definitely.
And I will say this too, like for me, I had a fun time with this trailer and seeing the chaoticness of what it could be like to have split personalities. I like, because I love the way that it's shot, in the sense of like there are moments when you see Oscar Isaac's character kind of almost like thrusted into a situation where he's maybe like waking up for the first time, or like his personality is coming out for the first time, and he's like extremely shocked at the situation he sort of finds himself in, right? Like just the way that it's cut and edited, from like when he's driving in the van and all of a sudden it seems as though like he wakes up and he's startled at the idea that he's got a gun in his hand, like where did this come from? And then it's a cool shot of like it cuts and edits from like some guy falling out the back of the van, and as the guy's falling, it cuts to Oscar Isaac's character falling off a cliff, sort of thing, right? Like that's got to be pretty terrifying, in the sense of not knowing what your actions are when your other personalities kind of come out, and where do you find yourself at when you do come back into control of your own body. You know what I mean? Like I think the trailer plays up that aspect really, really well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm also kind of curious too, are some of his personalities like, better at fighting than others? So, you can have like one guy who's really good at martial arts taking on 10 people at once, but what if in the middle of that fight, suddenly he switches back into someone who doesn't know how to fight? I hope we get like kind of crazy things like that, in the show. I feel like there's a lot of fun you can really have with the idea of like superheroes with multiple personalities.
I definitely agree. Nathan says, remember though, this is still Disney. Yeah, so yeah, I definitely understand that. It can only get but so dark. But I thought from what they showed us, I think they're kind of embracing it a little bit. So I'm actually a big fan.
I'm wondering if they're actually going to kind of use this to test out, whether or not audiences are okay with like really dark PG-13 properties, like, because we know that there's going to be a Blade movie coming up, and currently it seems like they're going for a PG-13 rating, but like, I'm wondering if they're going to use Moon Knight as a way to like decide, for sure whether or not that's the route they want to go, because it could be like, if they rely on a PG-13 rating and they rely on like implications rather than actually visuals to, tell a dark story. I'm wondering if Disney is going to try to see if that will work, or fans still, after watching, will say, I wish this could have had a little more blood or a little more violence. And then that might lead to their overall decision on what they do with future like darker Marvel projects.
You could be right, because they are. There is a lot of talk behind the scenes that they're supposed to be putting together a Werewolf by Night Halloween special sort of thing too. So I do wonder if they are using Moon Knight as sort of like a measuring stick as to how dark and how much they can kind of get away with. So maybe Moon Knight is the opening of the door when it comes to that aspect of the MCU we've yet to be kind of introduced to. But I'm on board with this, man. The trailer looks great, and guys, we want to know your thoughts. At the end of the day, what did you guys think? Not only of the brand new poster that we wind up getting from Moon Knight, but the trailer itself. What stood out to you? What are you most anticipating from that trailer? What did you like the most? Definitely go ahead and let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. All right, guys, and I think with that will wrap up that particular story. Stuart, do you have control of the banners now by any chance? No? Okay. I know Indy sent you the code, so maybe later definitely go ahead and check it out. I'll still hold on. I'll still control the banners. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it.
Oh, sorry. Were you was I on mute?
Yeah, you're on mute.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, the code had expired, so I wasn't able to log in. So I'll talk to Indy and see if I can get a code sent to me afterwards.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and make our transition to our next topic. We got 3 more topics that we're going to be breaking down before we get to your live viewer questions. But the next one, I got my Star Wars buddy here with me, Stuart. So we got to go ahead and talk some Star Wars because we had ourselves a huge announcement here this past week. And I feel like a ton of huge announcements have been coming out when it comes to the upcoming Star Wars series in Ahsoka. I believe Ahsoka is probably going to be the next series that goes behind the camera. camera, getting ready to film, I believe, this upcoming spring, if I'm not mistaken. So filming will be progressing on this series rather soon. But before then, we continue to get massive amounts of casting announcements that continue to come out for that series. We've been keeping you guys up to date over the past several weeks as the Ahsoka series winds up continuing to grow in regards to its casting. But Stuart, this newest casting this week by any stretch of the imagination, I feel like outside of announcing Rosario Dawson's going to be Ahsoka, outside of announcing Hayden Christensen is coming back to play Anakin or Darth Vader, like outside of those two announcements, this is probably my favorite announcement to certainly hear because I'm such a big fan of hers. But the Ahsoka cast continues to grow, ladies and gentlemen, as Mary Elizabeth Winstead herself is in fact going to be joining this particular series. They had this huge announcement this week that we definitely have to go ahead and tackle because nothing wrong with adding amazing talent to your television series for sure. And I think they hit the jackpot in this particular one specifically. But this is according to the Hollywood Reporter and an exclusive report. Mary Elizabeth Winstead winds up joining Rosario Dawson in Ahsoka. It says she's punching her career into hyperspace. The actress has joined the budding cast of Ahsoka, the next Star Wars live action series gearing up to go into production at Lucasfilm and Disney Plus. Rosario Dawson is starring as the fan favorite character Ahsoka Tano, a Jedi Knight survivor, popular on the animation side of Star Wars, who made her live action debut in the second season of The Mandalorian. Hayden Christensen is reprising his role of Anakin Skywalker for the series, which is set 5 years after the events of Return of the Jedi, with Ukrainian actress Ivana Sakno and Australian thespian Natasha Bordizzo also slated to be on the call sheet. Now, plot details and Winstead's character information are being kept hidden in a bunker on 10 Cloverfield Lane. Star Wars series steward Dave Filoni is writing this series and executive producing with Jon Favreau. Production begins this spring in California. Winstead has been in action mode at this stage of her career. She was last seen in Netflix's 2021 revenge killer or thriller Kate, and before then slipped on the boots of Huntress in the movie Birds of Prey. And she also starred in Will Smith's Gemini Man as well, which I honestly forgot. But yeah, she definitely has a huge range when it comes to the movies that she's definitely been in. But I love me some Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Stuart, I'm actually a really big fan. So the fact that she's going to be a part of Ahsoka, I think, is a huge win. Honestly, if anything, I have no idea who she's even going to play. For some reason, there's was an Admiral Sloan, I believe, from like the extended canon of Star Wars. I think she's like an up and coming sort of admiral within the New Republic. I think maybe trying to hold on to or the Empire, I should say, maybe trying to hold on to some remnants, if you will, of what came before. So I don't know. Maybe she's a I don't want to say another Jedi. If anything, maybe she's an Inquisitor or somebody on the dark side. I'm not quite sure who she's going to be playing, but I think you can't go wrong with Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I think she's definitely has proven herself not only in just the dramatic roles, but really in the action flicks that she certainly has been involved in these days. So I'm a big fan of her work. I think this is a massive success and a massive win for Ahsoka that's been pretty much impressing me so far in the way that it's continuing to build up. But let me throw this over to you, Stuart, for Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Were you excited to see this announcement happen, or what's your thoughts?
Sorry, just needed to look one quick thing up. Okay, cool. Yes, I actually think that she's a really good actress. I don't think I've seen her give a bad performance. I mean, obviously, I love her in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I think that's probably my favorite movie of hers. But yeah, like, guy, even looking at her IMDb page, I'm like now remembering like all these other roles that she was in,
Right.
and I keep wondering why I'm forgetting that she was in these roles. And it's not because she's a bad actor. It's actually because of the opposite. It's because she's so good at these different personas that I constantly forget that it's her playing these different characters. So yeah, I definitely think she'll fit into Star Wars really well. And as for who she's going to play, I think it's going to be one of two things. I think it's going to be either an original character, or because, you know, that tease we got in The Mandalorian about Admiral Thrawn coming into this,
Mhm.
what if it's the first live action or the first rendition we get of Mara Jade? Because we still haven't been introduced to her in this new Star Wars canon. So,
Mm.
you know, if we're going to bring in Admiral Thrawn, why not Mara Jade?
Ooh, I kind of like that idea. Because you know, I guess when you think of Admiral Thrawn, I mean, he doesn't really have a lightsaber to hold himself up against somebody like an Ahsoka if it actually really came down to it. So I kind of dig that idea, honestly. I think I would really love to kind of see Amara Jade in some way or another. I mean, we do have like a 20-30 year gap. Still have to kind of fill in the gaps, if you will, when it comes to Star Wars continuity. And there's a lot in regards to sort of just Luke Skywalker's past that we're not too familiar with in regards to the events that took place from his life leading up to the events of The Mandalorian, which we saw him and Grogu actually come together. He's got himself now a little bit of an apprentice, if you will. Don't really know what happens from Luke from that moment to when we see him again at the end of The Force Awakens, sort of thing. So for me, I think it would be pretty fun. Now, whether or not Mara Jade is a character that eventually went on in this new canon to have sort of a relationship with Luke Skywalker at some particular point in time, or if they just utilize the influence of who Mara Jade is and create her with a different story. Definitely all a possibility, but I do know the huge fan support for Mara Jade. Let me ask you, Stuart, if they were to do a Mara Jade, do you think they would also have to do the relationship with Luke, or do you think the fan base would be perfectly okay with the idea of just seeing the Mara Jade character without all the past legend stuff attached to it?
Yeah, man. If we're talking about the fan base, I really don't know. The Star Wars fan base is extremely unpredictable to me. I don't envy Disney having to constantly try to figure out when to pander and when not to. So I don't know what they would think. Personally, for me though, just given what we've seen with Luke in The Last Jedi, I don't think we need to like add canon that she and Luke were in a relationship before the events of the new trilogy. I mean, I'm cool with them going with it either way, but I totally get like if they decide to kind of clear away from that because it would be really challenging to for a TV show, even when you have a big budget. It's still really hard to have like those de-aging effects that they were using in The Mandalorian with Mark Hamill. So I don't know if they'd be wanting to not only spend that kind of money, but I mean, there would just be, it would take way too much time to basically have Luke be, you know, a prominent character within the Ahsoka TV series if they're going to try to make him look younger again. So I wouldn't be mad if they did it. Also, if they wanted to have their cake and eat it too, and not have to worry about how expensive it would be to bring Luke into the series, they could just kind of mention it as like an off-screen relationship at some point. So it doesn't necessarily have to be shown on screen, or they can imply it at the end of the series and then explore it more in like some canon comic books. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is for me personally, I wouldn't mind it one way or another. But for the fans, I really don't know how they'd feel about it.
Yeah, I feel like they definitely would be kind of on the fence. So I think we probably might have some division there in regards to it. But it's Dave Filoni, so they'll eat up anything this man creates. Marcelino does say maybe Winstead will play Barriss Offee, Ahsoka's old friend turned enemy. Yeah, they definitely will have a wind up having a clash
That's
with each other
right. She never
towards the tail
died.
end. Yeah, I don't believe so. So definitely
Yeah.
a possibility there too. Definitely opens up the doors for sure. Marcelino says, knowing the expanded universe fans, they'd rather have Legends be canon instead of what we got in the sequel trilogy. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people definitely would love Legends to be canon, but I'm okay. I think, like, for me, kind of what they did with Ben Solo, you know, taking aspects of Jason Solo's character from Legends, if you will, and kind of morphing it into something a little bit new for the sequel trilogy. You know, I would be okay if they did something similar to that of Mara Jade. So I'm gonna lean towards you. I'm hoping that it's Mara. If anything, it wouldn't surprise me if she's a remnant of remnant of the empire that's fallen and still trying to hold on to power or whatever the case may be. So we'll see. I think if anything, when it comes to Winstead, though, just based off of what the article states about how she's really dived into sort of the action genre in this aspect of her career, it definitely makes me feel like you want to continue to take advantage of that and put some lightsabers or something in this woman's hand and let her do a lot of the heavy lifting, because I think maybe Mary's found a niche that really works for her these days when it comes to the action side of things. So I think hopefully Lucasfilm is taking notice of that, and we'll see what we get, man. But I'm excited. She's such a great actress. You can't go wrong just adding more talent to a series, and this series continues to impress so far. And I haven't even seen the first episode, so we'll see what happens. But guys, we want to know your thoughts. Mary Elizabeth Winstead joining Rosario Dawson in the Ahsoka series. Who do you think she could certainly be playing? And if you don't have any guesses, how excited are you for this addition? Does it do a lot for your anticipation for this series? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below. Stuart, do you still have the list of movies that she's been in?
Oh, yeah. One of them I completely forgot about, and I don't even remember which character she played in that movie. Did you ever see Death Proof?
Yes.
Yeah, apparently she was in that, but I'm having a hard time remembering who she was. I'm assuming maybe she was just one of the girls at the bar.
One of the girls at the bar, yeah, that's the only thing I can think of. She's played opposite of Rosario Dawson before then, huh?
Oh, that's right. She was in that movie too.
She was in that movie too.
Yeah. So I guess
that's pretty cool. I didn't even know that she was in the Fargo TV series for a couple of episodes, which I had no idea. I loved her in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. She was pretty good as Kate. I didn't see Gemini Man though. Honestly, I definitely want to go ahead and check it out. I really enjoyed it. I think 10 Cloverfield Lane was the movie that I was first introduced to her by.
Oh, unfortunately, she was also in the 2011 The Thing.
Oh, was she? She was in I see she was in
she was in Sky High. She played Royal Pain.
I see that she was in Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. I'm sorry, Scott Pilgrim versus the World was the first movie I had seen her in.
Same.
I didn't know that she was in Live Free or Die Hard either.
Oh, wait, was she the daughter in that movie?
Oh, maybe she was the daughter.
She brings in so many different personalities to her roles, and so maybe that's why I keep forgetting about these movies that she's in, because she just does. I guess she just does her job really well. She blends into these characters, and so I don't really think of her as an actress. I just think of her characters.
Yeah, I mean that's probably a good call, because I just see her as her character sometimes. Forget that she was even Final Destination 3. I didn't even know that she was in that movie too. So yeah, she's got an incredible profile so far.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, guys. With that out of the way, though, we will go ahead and dive into our last two topics for you guys today. One of these might go by relatively quick compared to the other one that we're going to leave towards the end. But look, this should come as no surprise. So we'll probably breeze over this one, but this should come as no surprise with the success of Squid Game over on Netflix. I mean, man, I duck and dodged Squid Game for like 2-3 months. I feel like, Stuart, somehow not being spoiled to the series whatsoever, but I just didn't jump on the bandwagon, and I was actually quite surprised just based off of social media and seeing how many people just absolutely love this particular series, and just how it kind of really just moved sort of pop culture, if you will, over the past year or so. So for me, when I finally did get the opportunity to check out Squid Game, I finally understood what everybody was talking about. And I definitely understand the anticipation for more. And ladies and gentlemen, more is exactly what we're going to be getting. I know, if I'm not mistaken, I do believe that the cast has come out and said that we will be getting a season 2. But Netflix themselves, ladies and gentlemen, is in fact confirming a second season. Most definitely is happening. And Stuart, this should really come as no surprise. It says it's officially a green light. Squid Game, Netflix's breakout hit of 2021, will be getting a second season. The co-CEO and chief content officer Ted Sarandos affirmed. It says on Netflix's fourth quarter 2021 earnings interview, Sarandos was asked whether there would be a second season of the violent South Korean survival drama, which has a score as the company's #1 most viewed TV series, and he simply replied, "Absolutely, the Squid Game universe has just begun." He said he put Squid Game in the category of Netflix's burgeoning bouquet of entertainment franchises that the company sees as having growth potential outside of the core streaming service with live experiences, games, and merchandise. So they've got some big plans, man, not just when it comes to season 2, but even expanding it past streaming. So a lot of big things are definitely happening. Yeah, this definitely does not come as a surprise. Stuart, are you surprised by this at all?
Not at all. Yeah, with how big of a success the first season was, and not to mention just the fact that they kind of they don't necessarily give you all the answers to this organization, but they show that there's a lot more to it than what we see. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense that Netflix would want to continue this universe and continue expanding it. In fact, that's what I really loved about what they said in the statement is that, you know, we're continuing to explore the Squid Games universe because we know that this definitely goes much bigger than what we just saw in the first season, because in the first season we just saw like one part of the Squid Game. So yeah, or not the Squid Game, but you know what I mean, like we only saw one part of that organization. So it'll be really interesting to see if they decide to explore you know, the entire like origins of the facility, or just, you know, how it is that they get like people together to work for them. Like there's so many things that I look forward to seeing them explore in this series. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be watching season 2 for sure.
Yeah, I feel like the possibilities are definitely endless. There's a lot of fun I think they can definitely have with this. My only thing would just be, please, just pay the creator everything that he's due. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
I think they probably paid him like just pennies for his first season, and then it became like this massive hit sort of thing. So if we are getting ourselves a second season and he is working his ass off to create, please pay this man the money that he's rightfully owed and deserved for the amazing hit that he's wound up creating for Netflix. But you know, I know some people will shit on Netflix and give Netflix a hard time. I mean, they even did just recently like bump up their prices and things like that. But honestly, I feel like Netflix does provide some incredible content on like a weekly basis, man. Like I feel like they continue to push out content, whether that be Netflix original movies, Netflix original series, sort of thing. For me, I just really enjoy the aspect of Netflix and how many franchises or properties they have that they honestly feel they can branch off and do other things with. Like just the idea of taking a storyline like a Squid Game, taking the concept of something like The Witcher, and just expanding it, right? And just exploding it, whether that be in animated films, spin off series, featured movies as original streaming service movies, sort of thing. I think the idea of being able to find properties that are so fresh and unique and have a lot of story to certainly be told, and then just expand upon them, really capitalize on them when you know when you know that these particular series are hot. I think is a great move by Netflix. I believe there's subscribers. I don't believe they did too good on building their subscribers this past year, if I'm not mistaken. I think they just under met sort of their quota of what they wanted to achieve for themselves. But listen, Netflix is not going anywhere. And I think when they continue to have this mindset of not just giving us season after season after season of one particular property, but also spinning off of that and maybe tackling whether that be other characters, maybe other organizations attached to this being sort of like a great mystery involved in it too, with some unanswered questions. I think there's just a lot of story to tell, and I certainly like the way that Netflix approaches a lot of their properties these days. I really do think they have something special working on there.
Yeah, I mean, like not just with their TV shows, but like with how many movies they're able to put out all the time, and just like the many different filmmakers they're giving these opportunities to. Now, keep in mind, yeah, majority of these Netflix movies are really terrible. So I'm not
Yeah,
like trying to
they're
say
not.
like, oh,
Yeah,
they're
they're not
amazing.
all good. Yeah, no, they're not all
The
good. No.
fact that they're given like the opportunity though to these filmmakers is still like a really cool thing about that I really love about Netflix as a company. And yeah, a lot of their TV shows, you know, kind of the same thing. Not only like the writer for Squid Games, for example, I think he said like he was on the verge of being homeless when he was writing the script, and now
Mm,
it's become like the biggest thing on Netflix. Like even I think it's like done better than Stranger Things, which is just crazy to
it's
think
crazy.
about, you know. So yeah, Netflix continues to impress me as always. Although I gotta ask though, because you mentioned that they were kind of like behind on their quota for subscribers. How how does Netflix get more subscribers at this point when I
They're
almost
taking over
don't
the
know?
world, right?
Like, yeah, I don't think I know a single person who isn't subscribed to Netflix. So it's
Exactly.
like, how do you take like, you know, if everyone in the world already has a Netflix account, how do you like increase those numbers, you know?
Yeah, the same thing. Like you're already taking over half the world, man. Like you can't. How many more subscribers can you actually have? Like, come on, guys. Share,
Yeah.
spread the wealth, man. Spread the wealth. But yeah, no, and it's one of those things. Like Netflix, just like not everything is great on Netflix. We're definitely not saying that, but they definitely find some gems. Like
Mhm.
there are just some series that are just hiding out in like the crevices of the South Korean, like thriller section that you just got to dig for certain things. I feel like they've got some great subtitled movies and series that are pretty compelling. So again, not everything is great, but I do love when some of these series can just explode into becoming so mainstream. And when you, like you said, when you get stories like that of somebody who was literally almost homeless, and now has got, is like probably a millionaire, and I don't know how much money Homeboy's making, but he's probably living pretty good right now, to certainly
Mhm.
say the least.
At the very least, like even if Netflix did underpay him, which wouldn't surprise me because like a lot of new writers, you know, tend to sell their scripts for very very small amounts of money because it's like you're a new writer, you can't be a choosing beggar type of thing. So even if they gave him like maybe only a couple $1,000s for this script, you got to imagine that now with how successful it is, that you know hopefully his negotiation skills not only that bumps up, but hopefully Netflix is a lot more willing to be like, okay, you made us a lot of money, so we are going to actually give you 10,000 or $10 million for this scripts instead of like just the 2,000 to make up for the 2,000 we paid for like your previous one.
Yeah, I'm hoping there's a lot more zeros before that
Mhm.
decimal for sure this time around. So good on him and good on the cast for this fantastic film or fantastic series, and me and the girlfriend, and hopefully a lot of other people are really looking forward to the second season. So again, I think while this has already been confirmed, the idea of Netflix is just continuing to show its support, and not only the idea of a second season, but a lot more to come. It should be interesting because they even talked about like live experiences. Um, um Games and merchandising. I'm kind of curious as to like what type of games. Like, are we talking board games here? Are we talking video games here? What type of live experiences? Like, are you gonna actually, like, instead of like escape rooms, you're gonna have Squid Game rooms, sort of thing? Like, what's
Dude,
going
that'd be
on?
so cool. Like, instead of obviously instead of actually killing people, you get like paintball snipers maybe set up, so you just get shot with a paintball pellet if you move
Massive
during red
games
light,
of
green light.
Yeah,
Yeah,
massive games of red light, green light around the country. That'd be fucking
yeah.
awesome, man. I would love it.
And then
Um,
for the one where it's like you have to kind of make your way across the bridge, but like you don't know which tile to jump on. Just have it be like kind of like a digital screen that you're jumping on. So like if it breaks, that means you fall down. You have to get out of line. That type of thing. Oh, you're muted.
I want some bungee cords. No, I want like legit, like you're off
Oh
on the
yeah.
cliff and you gotta make it over. Like I want
Okay,
everybody hooked to
yeah,
bungee
that would be
cords.
fun. Definitely.
So we'll see here, guys. But yeah, there's plenty of potential here when it comes to Squid Games. What do you guys think? Are you excited for season 2? Are you thrilled that we're going to be getting more content from this franchise? Let your thoughts be known in the live chat or the comment section box below, guys. All right. And last but not least, Stuart, I'm glad that I got you here for this last topic here, because I know you're a man of monsters. I know you love you a good King Kong or Godzilla battle. And we just wrapped up a trilogy, if you will, of the Monsterverse that Legendary went ahead and put together, wrapping up in a stellar, fantastic, fun film, if you ask me, in Kong versus Godzilla. But even despite that movie and how it ended, there certainly seems to be a lot more certainly headed our way. There have been talks about maybe even doing another film even after that they're currently working on, but not just in the film side of things. But ladies and gentlemen, we could be growing this MonsterVerse on the TV side of things, as it seems as though a Godzilla series has officially been announced. And Stuart, to be honest with you, man, I've really enjoyed this world that they've kind of created, going from Godzilla, Godzilla King of the Monsters, Kong Skull Island, and King Kong versus Godzilla. I think they've done a marvelous job of sort of world building, building up these characters, the lore of these creatures, really creating a world in which they've come from. And when it comes to, what is it, the hollow earth sort of theory of theirs, sort of thing. I've really enjoyed how they've expanded upon this MonsterVerse. And according to Deadline.com, Apple TV has officially landed a Godzilla and Titan series based on the legendary Monsterverse. It says, in a massive deal that expands the legendary Monsterverse, Apple TV has ordered a new line action series featuring Godzilla and the Titans. Following the thunderous battle between Godzilla and the Titans that leveled San Francisco, and the shocking new reality that monsters are real, the Untitled series explores one family's journey to uncover its buried secrets and a legacy linking them to the secret organization known as Monarch. It says the series will be produced by Legendary Television and executive producer, co-creators Chris Black, who will also serve as a showrunner, and Matt Fraction. It says that Toho is the owner of Godzilla characters and has licensed the rights to Legendary for this series as a natural byproduct of their long-term relationship on the film basis. It says talks about expanding the universe via a series began after Godzilla vs. Kong became one of the first big box office hits in the pandemic era. Legendary already is developing the next Untitled film set in the Monsterverse, but saw potential in developing a series and began talking to buyers that were interested. Apple showed immediate interest as it looks to add more branded IP to their slate of original TV series that continues to grow, and a deal was soon struck to start developing on the series. Stuart, it seems as though my wallet's going to have to open up again and add another damn streaming service. I've really tried my hardest to avoid having to get Apple TV. But I think if there's anything that's going to move me, it's probably Godzilla and Titans Monsterverse series, to be honest with you. So yeah, my wallet will be screaming at me, sir. But what are your thoughts when you hear this announcement?
I'm so excited that, okay, so I think I've mentioned this before, like how I do streaming services. I pay for one, I let people borrow that one that I pay for, and then in return, I borrow the ones that they're paying for as well. So it's like I have enough people I do this with to where it's like I now have pretty much every streaming service unlocked, even though the only one I'm currently paying for is HBO Max.
Damn.
Yeah, it's great. But with Apple TV, I don't know a single person that utilizes it. So my reason for not getting Apple TV was really just more because I don't know anyone who has it. But, you know, if they're going to do a Godzilla series, then okay, I will go ahead and pay for a second streaming service now. If I must. But yeah, because this is something I have no problem paying for, and it's cool because it's cool knowing that Toei wants to keep this relationship going. I just really hope it doesn't mean like because I know that before, the reason Toei was waiting to release more Godzilla movies was because they wanted
Toho?
or yeah, I said Toei, my bad, I meant Toho. Sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah, I think it was just because they wanted to let Legendary finish up its series. So after King Kong versus Godzilla, I think that was originally their plan to start working on new Godzilla movies for Toho. So I really hope that doesn't change with this TV series, because I still do want to get like with how much I loved Shin Godzilla, I would really love to see more like Japanese Godzilla movies, with like modern tech and that kind of stuff. But if we can have our cake and eat it too, if we can get this show and the Toho Godzilla series as well, dude, that would make me the happiest giant monster movie fan in the world. So I really hope this works out in the favor for both companies. I'm also very curious to see how they film this, like on a TV budget, because again, like even if you give it a movie budget, computer effects on a TV show is just a really challenging thing to do because of how much time it takes. So I'm really curious to see what it's all going to look like on the small screen on Apple TV, and to see if it looks as good as the movies, or if they have to be a little bit more creative with the way they film everything.
And do I have to have an Apple phone or an Apple account to even get Apple TV, or is it just available anywhere?
I really hope not. I hope it's available anywhere.
Like, I don't need an Apple TV to access Apple TV, right? Like, I'm hoping I can just Google this or download this off my Fire Stick or something somewhere, right?
I hope so.
I hope so. If you guys know in the live chat, please go ahead and let us know. We clearly don't have Apple TV Plus or anything like that, so I don't know exactly how that works. But you know what? I may have to do that, because me and the girlfriend right now, we do have like duplicates of streaming services. Like for me, she had Hulu. I dropped my Hulu though, or she dropped her Hulu, because we both had Hulu, because I have like the Disney bundle, that gives me ESPN Plus and Hulu along with Disney Plus.
So you
So
have the ads.
yeah, I do got the ads, sadly. But she had I think the free ads, no ads account on Hulu, but she dropped hers because we're like, we don't, we're okay with the ads. We're okay with the ads. But you're right. I mean, it will definitely save us money. So if anything, we might have to start eliminating some of the duplicates that we have, and then maybe use that spare change that we now have towards an Apple TV Plus streaming service. Because yeah, and if anything, while I personally haven't watched an Apple TV series as of yet, I've heard a lot of great things from a lot of their series, whether that just be storyline purposes, production value. So when you say you're kind of worried or concerned about the special effects, for like a television series per se, I do think when it comes to Apple TV, I do think that they can honestly nail it. So I'm not too worried about it. But there's also a part of me that wonders, like, I wonder who else was in the running for this IP. Like, I do wonder if Netflix was like on board also trying to pick this up, because I feel like they're always trying to get new content and things like that too. So I would be curious to know how much they actually paid for these rights for the IP of the Monster Universe television series over at Apple Plus. I mean, if they had such a big push, I got to think that they were offering a pretty penny in order to land this IP. But I'm excited for this, man. More Monsterverse, can't go wrong. I'm a big fan of seeing monsters destroy cities and everything that goes along with it. So, when it comes to Godzilla, there's just a plethora of titans and stories that can certainly be told. So I think if there's going to be a little bit of fun with this, I would be curious as to what the untitled film is going to be. Is that going to be another Godzilla-esque film? Is that going to be more along the lines of following King Kong, and this series will be diving more into the Godzilla stuff? I would be fascinated to kind of see how that's explored. But bring it on. I'm always a big fan of the Monsterverse stuff. I never really go into the Monsterverse stuff expecting gripping storyline. I think a lot of us are here for the action, and I think even Marcelino brings that up. He says, let's face it, people will only watch it for the monsters alone. Neither the audience or even the writers give a damn about character development or storytelling, just giant monsters fighting. There's probably a portion of that that's kind of true in a sense, but at least the idea of, I really personally only care for the monsters, but I have enjoyed what they've managed to put together so far for us in this Monsterverse series that we've gotten so far.
My thing is like I can go either way, like, but you got to make sure that you do a good job at what it is that you're trying to do. So King Kong versus Godzilla, for example, I feel like that one was just going for the action. They really didn't seem to care like with the story, because there were just some story elements in that movie that were just so dumb and made no sense. But when it came to the action, man, was that satisfying. It's like that was the thing that they wanted to focus on, and that was the thing that I think they did the perfect job at, especially with it being like a 3-round fight, one winning the first round, one winning the second round, and the victory always kind of being dependent on who has the advantage in each kind of battlefield. I love that, absolutely. So yeah, it's as long as you're like for a TV show for a giant monsters, like I was mentioning before, with the budget, or not just budget, but yes, with CG it might be a little bit more of a challenge than it would be for a movie. So as long as you got good writers that know how to like keep you entertained, even when we're not watching giant monster battles, you can still make it work. But yeah.
Yeah, I think when it comes, I think it'll be a little bit different though when it comes to the television series. I mean, when you look at what they say, it says following the thunderous battle between Godzilla and the Titans that leveled San Francisco and the shocking new reality that monsters exist, the Untitled series explores one family's journey to uncover its buried secrets and the legacy linking them to the organization known as Monarch. And so, while I definitely do think we'll get our fair share of monster battles and fights and things like that, when it comes to a television series, you do have to focus on characters. You do have to focus on development, and because that's where the emotional ride and attachment is going to be for the viewers. I mean, if this is going to be more than just certainly one series, I don't necessarily, one season, I don't necessarily know if you can have a series that survives on more monster action and little character development. You know what I mean? And so, with this already being sort of a story of a family's journey, dealing with secrets, linking secret organizations and pasts together when it comes to Monarch, there definitely feels like there's got to be some chunk of solid storytelling to really wrap your head around as a viewer. So while I think we're used to, when it comes to movie wise, look, we got 2 hours, right, to tell this story, blow people's minds. I think when you're in a movie sort of mentality, the lack of character development and more monsters could, probably does work a little bit more. But when it comes to TV series, I think that mindset does have to be reversed a little bit, because I don't think a series can survive with just monster action. What do you think, though?
Oh yeah, fully 100% agree with you. Because even if the monster action is like movie level quality, the problem is that with it being a TV show, even really good action is eventually going to get boring. So if you don't have like characters and story that like us as an audience care about, yeah, it's not gonna do well on a streaming service at all.
So yeah, definitely some uphill battles and some challenges, and maybe doing something different that the Monsterverse movies themselves didn't quite focus on. But when it comes to TV series, this seems like that's something that they're definitely going to be have to focusing on, because I'm cool with the idea of not getting a big monster fight every episode. I think the idea of it leading up to big confrontations and battles, I think, carry a lot more weight.
You mentioned there was an untitled movie currently in development, right?
Correct.
This I don't know if they'd be able to pull this off without like it being known, because this is owned by a completely different studio. But I'm wondering, like, what if they'd be able to pull off a Gamera versus Godzilla movie, and somehow being able to like announce that movie before even announcing that they have the rights to Gamera. Like, that would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty epic. I would be down to definitely see something like that. Definitely a ton of possibilities I think, and really explore, which I'm excited about. But guys, let us know your thoughts. Do you have Apple TV Plus? If so, what do you think about the content on there? If you don't, does the idea of a Godzilla Monsterverse series entice you enough to want to go ahead and get Apple TV Plus? My wallet's going to hate me for it, but I think I'm definitely going to go ahead and put over the money once the series winds up dropping. But let us know your guys' thoughts in the live chat or the comment section box below in regards to how you're enjoying the Godzilla Monsterverse so far. All right, Stuart. And I think with that, that will wrap up all of our main topics for the day. So thank you very much, guys, for certainly joining us as we went through all of our topics, hearing some of your comments as well. So thank you very much, guys, for certainly participating. And now, as always, it's time for live viewer questions, guys. So we're going to go ahead and get into your questions. For those of you who have submitted questions over, if you do want to submit questions over, again, you can do so at any time during the week at aplusopinions@gmail.com. Again, aplusopinions@gmail.com. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So we got quite a few emails here today, man. So let's see what we got. We'll start off with Marcelino Vasquez today. Today's questions are video game themed. I'm enjoying these little these themed questions here. How excited are you to learn Knights of the Old Republic will be reintroduced into the main Star Wars canon with some changes to have more fluid canon?
That I didn't know about. I thought it was just going to be HD, or it was just going to be a remake. But so if it's confirmed that it's going to be Star Wars canon, then yes, I'm all for it. Obviously, yeah, like you mentioned in the question itself, there are a few story elements that you might have to change to help it flow a little bit better into the continuity. But yeah, to finally have Revan like introduced into the Star Wars universe as a canon character, oh man, give me that, please.
Look, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I love the first one. I was always a huge fan of the first one. Why is my screen? Hold on, sorry, screen is being all weird right now. I was a fan of the first one. I don't mind the idea of them revisiting. Why is my thing? Sorry, hold on a second. My screen is like being funky right now. I'm hoping it doesn't accidentally like close, like it's opening up new tabs when I'm not even clicking on the button to open up new tabs. I'm like, what is going on here? All right, I think we might be all right. When it comes to Knights of the Old Republic, I loved the video game growing up. I absolutely did. For me, I think my mindset is very much focused on the High Republic era right now, more or less than it is Knights of the Old Republic. When I look at Knights of the Old Republic, I think to myself, we've already done that. If they want to redo it, that's certainly more than fine. I mean, the idea of them reintroducing Knights of the Old Republic, it takes place so vastly separate from what the High Republic or even the prequel and original trilogies kind of focused on, sort of thing, that you really wouldn't be messing anything up. So, if they want to go ahead and redo it and, do another video game, readjusting some of the canon, I'm perfectly okay with that. My hype level right now is the High Republic stuff. I think if anything, they should be a little bit more focused on maybe making a video game in regards to that. I think the High Republic is going to start becoming a very important aspect of Star Wars. I think the novels are a great sort of building block for creating an era that future filmmakers and television series writers and showrunners can really dive into and sort of have some fun with. And so while I understand and get the hype and the popularity of Knights of the Old Republic, I've seen the game before. You know what I'm saying? Like I've played the game before. I think my interest now is, how are you going to continue to grow the High Republic era and make that more of a prominent time period for Star Wars to kind of focus on going forward? But that's just me, not taking anything away from the video game. I'm sure I'm going to be hyped for it, but I'm more excited for other things outside of Knights of the Old Republic, though.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Yeah, because High Republic's a very new kind of concept that we're exploring, and yeah.
Do you think we will get more Overwatch animated shorts in the future? The last one Blizzard made was a promo for Overwatch 2 back in November of 2019, about 2 years ago. So do you think we'll get more Overwatch animated shorts?
Once Overwatch 2 comes out, then yeah.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to double check with my girlfriend. She used to play that game all the time, but and I think I've played it a couple of times. But yeah, I mean, why not? Yeah.
Don't they have a live action movie coming out?
Ooh,
Is it live action?
if they do, this is the first time I'm hearing about it.
Maybe it was it. Hold on, live action Overwatch game.
Oh my
Maybe
god.
not.
You ever watch Ego Raptor on YouTube? He does like mostly like animated shorts and
I
music
guess not.
videos.
I never seen him.
I definitely recommend checking out Ego Raptor's rap video with Overwatch. It was just one of the most bizarre, like kind of flash animation music videos. It was pretty funny though. He's really funny.
Let's see. Marcelina says, "Boy, Adam, you are likely in the minority." I'm pretty sure that I am, and I got no problem with being different, man. It's not always the best thing to be following the crowd all the time, so I'm perfectly okay with being in the minority.
Fandom would be boring if everyone just agreed on everything.
Exactly. Have you noticed that video games today focus more on story and character development while the gameplay comes second? Not to say that older video games didn't have a good story or character development, but it's definitely more obvious today. This has led to people calling video games this has led to people calling video game movies because of how video games this has led to people calling video games movies because of how they're treated. Um do you think that's just something that's just happening recently?
I mean, I feel like that's been going. I feel like that's the direction the gaming industry has been trying to go into ever since like Nintendo 64. It's just that the technology is only just now really caught up to where you can make a video game look like a full-on cinematic movie. For the most part, I don't have anything against this. I like the idea of like feeling like you're a part of a cinematic storyline, especially because you still do get kind of like the more simplistic games too that aren't like super heavy based. Like you get a bunch of independent video game makers that'll like put their video games out there for people. So it's like right now it's been like this for a while, ever since, to my opinion, like the PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 era. We've been in this really cool time period where it's like, if you're more into the retro style games, if you're into like modern games with a heavy story, or if you just want to play online, the variety is there. Like, I feel like there's just so much in variety when it comes to different types of games you can play that you can't really be mad when the industry decides to go one way, because you know that the other ways still exist somewhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I definitely get you for sure. And I'm really glad that this is the direction that they've gone in. For me, that's been the more compelling video game aspect. And again, that's just me. I do enjoy me a good first person shooter, if you will. But for some reason, when I think of the type of video games that he's referring to in regards to focusing more on character development, good story, for some reason I do go back to more action adventure and like RPG sort of video games. But I'm glad that that's the route that they're certainly going, because it does kind of put video games on a more recognizable. I think it's easier, I think, for some maybe casual video gamers or casual goers of that genre to enjoy a little bit more. So I do like it. Like for me though, why I definitely do feel like this has been going on for a while. I do agree with Marcelino that it feels like more than ever that's become really prominent, because I go back and I think of like the first Metal Gear Solid game on like
Mhm.
PlayStation 1, that was very character driven, very storyline driven sort of thing. I go back to like Final Fantasy VII, where that felt like just its own cinematic adventure, sort of mixed in with just more RPG format sort of thing. So I feel like over the years, those type of video games were very far in between, but it feels like they have very much become more of the norm these days. So yeah, I definitely agree with you there, Marcelino.
Oh, guy, especially you brought up Metal Gear Solid. My favorite is with Metal Gear Solid 4, that epilogue, I swear that drags for more than an hour. People who complain that Lord of the Rings 3 has too many endings, you have not you haven't played Metal Gear Solid 4, because that epilogue is the
Just never
longest in
ending.
existence. Yeah,
That's very
I
true.
was convinced at one point it wasn't going to end.
You're like, did I beat the game? Is there more to play? Like, what's going on? I love it. Gabriel's got a couple questions. Thank you very much. Gabriel Glasgow, he says, which Avengers film did you find the best? Oh, did we do this already?
Maybe.
Hold on. No, I guess not. Yeah, which Avengers film did you find the best or underwhelming? This even implies to the Disney Plus MCU series.
So like Marvel, not just the Avengers movie
Well, it says the
specifically.
first, yeah, it says the
Okay.
first part of the question is, yeah, which of the Avengers film did you find the best or underwhelming?
I definitely thought like Infinity War is the best written out of all of them. If I had to like choose what would be the most underwhelming out of all of them, probably Age of Ultron, just
Yeah.
because it feels like it didn't really add that much after the first Avengers. It felt like it was just like kind of a repeat, but we added a couple new characters. Um, yeah. I mean, I didn't think it was a bad movie. I just thought overall, definitely it felt watered down compared to the first movie.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. He says this even applies to the Disney Plus MCU series. So, what do you think was the best best MCU series and the most underwhelming?
Guy, the best is really the hard to say because I like WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier are kind of neck and neck to me. Even Loki, actually, guy, those first three were all so good. I can definitely say that Hawkeye is my least favorite so far. I still enjoyed it for the most part, but to me, it really felt very silly and kind of amateurish compared to the other Marvel shows, especially when it comes to Loki or to Hawkeye's sound design. Like it really felt like they took someone who took a couple of film or editing classes in high school and they had them doing the sound department for Hawkeye. It was just weird how cheap it was.
Yeah, yeah, I will say underwhelming is Hawkeye. And again, that's not to say that I thought it was a bad series. I enjoyed it for what it was. I think Hawkeye was definitely set out to be probably one of the more, I don't want to say the more unique ones because you look at WandaVision, that's definitely unique. But I definitely do think Hawkeye tapped into what it should have been.
Mhm.
Like just a tone that just really fit the Hawkeye character and the story that it was kind of telling. So I think it worked for that, but still a little underwhelming in my eyes in regards to some of the execution in regards to it. As far as best, I'll go with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. While I really enjoyed the uniqueness and the creativity behind WandaVision, for me, I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier is the one that feels very MCU-ish to me. I think it did a really great job in regards to building a lot of a lot of the characters. Also, I love seeing the personal life between Bucky and Falcon, and for me too. Seeing U.S. Agent was pretty cool. Getting the opportunity to really see, the Black Captain America, I thought was fantastic. I really love that storyline between him and Anthony Mackie's Falcon, and just really kind of proving, I think, to not just me but everybody, like just how much Falcon has truly earned that mantle of Captain America. And I think it went a really, really long way. So for me, probably best is Falcon and the Winter Soldier when I think about it, for me at least. But that's just me. Quick shout out to Mario for certainly coming through. Thank you very much, Mario. Thank you for being here with us. Gabriel says this is controversial, but what was your original reaction when you found out about the COVID pandemic? Do you feel why some people don't take the pandemic seriously still to this day because they can't seem to accept that it's not reality, that it is a reality, not a sci-fi movie? Following, how hard do you think COVID hit the entertainment industry, specifically Hollywood? Oh, it definitely hit the entertainment
Mhm.
industry hard. I mean, there were moments where we thought fucking AMC and Cinemark were gonna go out of like bankruptcy and shut down. Like, I mean, there was a whole like time period when we were like, movie going is gonna change forever. We're not gonna have theaters ever again. We'll all need streaming movies. I mean, there was a real fear, I think, in Hollywood, and I think people lost a lot of money, to the point to where people are probably still trying to recover from what happened in the pandemic and are still feeling it, to certainly say the least. But yeah, man, it definitely hit Hollywood for sure.
Yeah. As for like initial reactions, I don't think I was worried at first, just because like you hear, like, even before COVID, there are always, like, you hear about different viruses or different things like kind of breaking out, and it usually stays relatively contained, and even when it does spread, it's usually spread extremely thin. But this is the first time in my personal lifetime where it not only spread, but it spread really fast, and then soon took over all of us. So I was definitely caught off guard, like a lot of people, on how big this actually was.
Yeah, it definitely surprised for sure. I remember being at work, and just hearing the news about it continuing to spread overseas and stuff. I don't think we had gotten any cases as of yet, but I just remember hearing about it. I remember being in the office telling like my friends, like, man, I'm gonna go ahead and go grab some masks this week. I think I should probably go get some masks and start like trying to get some groceries and stuff. And I remember one of my coworkers across from me was like, Adam, don't be so silly. Like, come on, it's not going to be serious. It's just, I'm like, oh, okay. And then, like, literally within a couple of weeks, they're like, yeah, you're going to work from home, guys. Like, oh, shit. Okay. It's, like, I kind of anticipated it, but still, I don't think anybody expected it to, be hitting this type of way.
I think everyone should definitely check out the South Park. Like it's technically a four-parter now, but I mean, like the only ones you really need to see are the two on Paramount Plus. It's like a really funny post-COVID special that they did, where it's like the kids are adults, and it's kind of written very similarly to the movie It. Where it's like you got kind of two storylines going on, one with them as kids, one of them as adults. It's funny is all I'm going to say, and I definitely thought the ending was a very good, heartwarming ending about like how, hey, we couldn't go back in time and change the pandemic, but what we could do is go back in time and change how we all reacted to it. And I thought that was like actually a really cool message at the very end.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I agree. Why do you think of What do you think of Shia LaBeouf's character of Sam Witwicky, presumably killed in Transformers 5 The Last Night? Why we keep getting different leads during the previous installments, like Mark Wahlberg and Haley Steinfeld? Would you like to Who would you like to be the new lead in the next Transformers? Hell, I wanted Haley Steinfeld to stick around. I really wanted her to stick around and have more sequels with her in there. I thought she was a great lead for the Bumblebee movie. um, I don't really know who else I would like to see kind of lead the next Transformers franchise, honestly, but I didn't even know that they presumably killed Sam Wiki. The Last Night I didn't even bother to watch. I have not seen that movie.
I don't remember the line about him being dead, but I honestly don't doubt it. I feel like Michael Bay's the kind of person that holds a grudge. So whatever reason he decided to fire Shia LaBeouf for, maybe that was like why he decided to permanently kill him off, so he could just be like, yeah, see, you're never coming back in our franchise now. Kick him while he's down. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, like as for like who I'd like to see taking the lead, yeah, Haley Steinfeld for sure. I might get canceled for saying this. I don't like Mark Wahlberg at all. I think he's a terrible person and not a very good actor. So if we don't see any of him in the future Transformers movies, I'm not going to complain.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't really care for much for Mark Wahlberg, at least in Transformers. I really did like Shia LaBeouf as Sam Witwicky
Mhm.
in the Transformers movies. I know a lot of people didn't like, was it Dark Side of the Moon, the third one. I was actually a really big fan of the third one. The first one is my favorite. Second one I could definitely do without. The third one I thought was actually pretty intense. I thought it was a really great round off to the trilogy, but I know I'm in the minority there as well. But yeah, he's the only person I really cared for outside of Haley, who I thought did a marvelous job as Bumblebee. So when they mentioned the idea of doing this new Transformers movie and she wasn't involved, I mean, I felt like at the end of Bumblebee, like her story was definitely told. That they were moving on to other things. But there was a part of me that definitely missed out. That feels like a missed opportunity to have her kind of return. I think the guy from In the Heights, um, the musical, is going to be one of the main leads for this new Transformers movie, so maybe he does a pretty good job. I really enjoyed him in The Heights as the main character, so hopefully he brings over that charisma to the Transformers movie too.
Yeah.
Um, Marcelino says, the last night was Bayformers film that made me open my eyes on how Michael Bay treats Transformers. And honestly, I think that's how a lot of people felt.
Mm.
It's a shame that the veil couldn't have come away from people's eyes like 2 films earlier. But it feels like the general public, for the most part, really realized what the last night, like, you're just blowing shit up on screen at this point, aren't you? Like, you're really not telling any type of story, huh? I think they
It,
caught on.
I think like okay, so there was an old video I did, and I think it was like before we rebranded this channel as A Plus Hero Report, and I think it is. I think it's still on the channel if you go all the way back. But it was basically worst movies of 2018. If you want to, it's a long video, so you might want to just kind of skip to like the last like 20 minutes or so. But if you want to see me get drunk and go on like a what was it, like 5 minute rant, like my friends had to shut me up because I kept droning on because of it. But if you want to see me get drunk and talk about how much I absolutely hated Transformers 5, that's how you can do it. It's somewhere I think on this channel, and I think it was the worst movies of 28. It was like the best and worst 2018 movies, I think. I don't remember.
Well, that's funny. I'm gonna have to find that one. I'm gonna have to definitely check it out. Mario says, so for the questions, do we just email you? Yeah, you can email us at any time during the week, to aplusopinions@gmail.com. Sometimes we'll definitely get to your comments if we can in the live chat. But if there is definitely a question that you have, I would recommend aplusopinions@gmail.com. He also says, so the clip that was released yesterday, not sure if you will believe me, but I was the first person to encounter this ad or clip. I'm assuming maybe in regards to the Batman. So that's pretty cool, Mario. Glad you got the opportunity to check it out first, man. That's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Let's see here. We also got a couple questions. AJ, he's got a couple questions. What do you think if James Gunn were ever to bring Legends of Tomorrow to the DCEU? Do you think he would make them very R-rated or a PG-13 rating like he did with the first Guardians movie, and have real purpose and comes to the storyline than the current running TV series? I don't think Legends of Tomorrow is anywhere on this man's mindset, but I could be wrong.
I mean, if he did it though, like yeah, like I think it could have. I think Legends would be a funny freaking series if it was done by James Gunn. I think like Legends is at times it's at its funniest when it decides to go a little edgy, but like of course it's a CW show and it's TV 14, so there's like kind of a limit to that edge that they're allowed to bring when they do bring it in. So I think like if it went to HBO Max and James Gunn became the new showrunner, I would love to see what he could bring to Legends of Tomorrow. Like you could just do a full-on reboot of the show, have it take place in the DCEU, and just keep like the characters and storylines that worked in the show, and then just drop everything that didn't work about it, and it would, you could pull it off because it doesn't have to be the same universe.
That's very true. You absolutely could do that. He also asks, I really think that David Ramsey as John Diggle is returning to Arrowverse show with his own show, Injustice U. I think it will really bring back longtime Arrowverse fans who fell off Arrow verse the past few years and bring in new fans. This, in a way, would make up for all the backdoor pilots that failed to come to fruition, considering how CW prioritizes certain series. Looking at you, Powerpuff. Remember Arrow and the Canaries. Lastly, you think Diggle has learned a lot about being a vigilante and as a person since passing of Oliver? Yeah, absolutely. I think he's learned a lot. I think the idea of just seeing him go on all these other Arrowverse shows and dropping some knowledge and advice to everybody is a great way to showcase just how much he's actually learned and grown from his time being a part of Team Arrow and all of his adventures, sort of thing. So I kind of dig this idea. I know you're still kind of hesitant, at least, Stuart, in regards to this series. Probably have to see a little bit more in regards to it. But like for me, I think this fits just John Diggle kind of perfectly where he's at least in his career as Spartan, and being a vet to this game. The idea of bringing up brand new young metahumans and things like that. For me, my intrigue would be who's going to be part of the team and what Arrow cameos are we going to see? Because I do think that it would be really fun to have some of these characters return and reprise their roles too, whether that be for a cameo, whether that be for an episode or two arc. It'd be pretty cool to kind of see him bring some of these characters back along.
Yeah, for sure. One thing I can say for sure about Justice U is that even though like I mentioned before, I wasn't the biggest fan of the concept for the show, I do still think like having David Ramsey as reprising his role as John Diggle for the main lead was probably the most brilliant idea you could go with, because like if you look at he most recently appeared on Batwoman, and it's funny because he is so good at having chemistry with everyone he interacts with. So we had him interacting with Jada Jet in this Batwoman episode, a character we've never seen him ever interact with before, and yet they clicked immediately, and they bring up like having this big backstory together, possible implication that he might be Ryan Wilder's dad. I don't think they're gonna go there, but they had like a weird implication at
Wow.
one
Okay.
moment. So it's just so interesting how he's able to just have perfect chemistry with almost anyone he interacts with. So it's like, yeah, if you are going to make another Arrowverse show, having David Ramsey as your main lead is the smartest way to go. And even though I'm not sold on the premise yet, I do think that if anyone's going to change my mind about it, it's definitely David Ramsey.
And then he also asks, which character in Cobra Kai as a whole were you a huge fan of, and which annoyed the F out of you?
I definitely think Miguel's my favorite character, and then as for the one who annoys me the most, definitely Johnny's kid, because he's like, I liked him originally, but then he just like makes this really like weird 180 turn after season 2, and he becomes the most unlikable character in the show.
Yeah, yeah, he's probably. I don't want to say he's my most annoying now. He's my most annoying because I just think he's a bad actor, but that's just me. And yet I just see Power Rangers in this man's future, and it just makes me mad. But it's whatever it is. Anyway, I can't stand him. Like he was even in that movie. He's all that or something, like the remake on Netflix. And I'm like, the dude's handsome even when he's ugly, guys. Like this doesn't even work. How can you even have this guy as your main role? I didn't mind him so much in the movie. I thought he actually did pretty decent, but I'm just not. I'm just not a fan of the guy. But yeah, he's gonna be everywhere before I know it. But the person that probably annoys me is probably Sam.
Mhm.
LaRusso's daughter. She's kind of gotten under my nerves over the past season and a half or so. I have not liked her trajectory. I just roll my eyes now. So yeah, somehow both of Daniel LaRusso's kids are just a-holes.
Both, yeah.
I just can't stand them both all of a sudden.
Yeah.
As far as which character as a whole am I a huge fan of? I've been a fan of Hawk. Hawk has been a really cool character for me. Just seeing where he started, his turn, and like his redemption story, if you will. You know, him coming back into the fold, and just his performance in season 4 and stuff. Hawk has always been somebody that I'm a big fan of.
I gotta say though, with Daniel's son, he's that character I loved hating the entire season, especially just seeing he was so much of a little brat. He brought the Cobra Kai right out of right out of his dad in that scene, and I absolutely
Oh yeah.
love that moment.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Let's see here. Ibase, what's up, Ibase? Appreciate you coming through. He says, "What do you guys think of the comic book comedy movie Scott Pilgrim versus the World when it first originally came out, and why do you think it was such a popular film to this day? And would you like to see a potential sequel or continuation in any form?" You know, yeah, Scott Pilgrim versus the World is always a movie that I thought definitely deserved a sequel. I always want to see more of it, whether that be film wise or even series wise. I would go for it. I know that they have plans on doing an anime series. I believe it might just be your retelling of the graphic novel, if I'm not mistaken. So it probably will go over some stuff that we've seen from the live action movie already. But I would like to see more out of that world if there's even more story to definitely be told outside of that. But I really loved it. I remember when I first saw it in movie theaters. I think for me, I went and saw it because it had Michael Cera in it, and I feel like at the time his star in Hollywood was like just on the rise. Like I felt like anything that he was touching was just funny and just a really solid, fun movie. So I hadn't even paid attention to the graphic novel before going to see this movie. I literally just went to the movies to go ahead and check it out, and I freaking loved it, man. It had so much fun with itself. Just a little comedy here and there, the little special effects and graphics that it would add, making it feel very video game like. The fight sequences blew me the fuck away. Like I was like, what am I watching right now? Like I did not know that so much effort was going to truly be put into this film. And they did a remarkable job with it. Not just the characters, great comedy, great cameos, incredible fight sequences, all mixed in with great music and a little bit of that nerd pop culture with the video game references and stuff. I just felt like it hit on everything that a nerd like me would just absolutely love, man. So yeah, I was a big fan.
Edgar Wright is one of those directors where, you know, he
Yes.
wants to make sure every page of his script has something to say. Like every single line that gets delivered, if it's not moving the story forward, it's at least keeping the momentum of the story and it's telling a really funny joke. Like he makes sure that there isn't a single frame or single line that feels wasted in his movies. And Scott Pilgrim versus the World is a strong example of that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you for sure. Ibis, second question. What are your thoughts on NFTs and why many people are against them, especially people in Power Rangers and Super Sentai community? Well, the Twitter folks. Do you want to take this one, Stuart? Yeah,
I
I'm
just
curious. I'm curious your thoughts on NFTs and just what's going on these days.
okay. I need someone to educate me because I get that it's not the best for the environment. I don't know how bad it is for the environment though. Keep that in mind. I don't know how bad it is for the environment. But I get that that's like the biggest argument I hear against NFTs is that they take up a lot of electricity. But besides that, like I just don't get why people are passionately hating it because the only people it seems to affect, to my opinion, and again, please educate me if I'm wrong, please. It seems the only people it affects are the people who are dumb enough to buy them, you know? So I just don't care if I'm being honest. But of course, if I'm missing something, if like there's actually like if it's worse for the environment than I'm letting on, or if there's like other reasons that I should be hating NFTs as much as people on Twitter, please let me know. Okay. This isn't me like trying to say everyone's being a drama queen about it. I'm not. I'm just saying that all the research I've done on NFTs have not led me to have that passionate hate that like other people seem to have of NFTs.
Yeah, I will say this, Stuart. Yeah, there's a part of me that's kind of completely over it too. Like I'm just tired of hearing about it all the damn time. I've tried to do my fair share of research when it comes to NFTs, what blockchains, if you will, are like really terrible towards the environment. Because two things. One, I hear people talk about the idea that NFTs are just sort of big scams. Like you said, if you're dumb enough to get involved in it, you might eventually get scammed at some point in time. That it's really like just purchasing something for extremely amounts of money that you don't even necessarily get the opportunity to own yourself. I mean, you own it, but it's not physical, right? Like it's just something completely digital in a sense. And there are people saying that it's something that you would sort of as like a pyramid scheme, if you will. So that's the first
Mhm.
thing. The second thing definitely is the impact that it has on the environment. The idea that you've got these big crypto farms with, all these computers just crunching numbers all the time that absorb not only an immense amount of energy, but it also, while using that energy, sends a ton of like just toxic emissions into the air and just adds to destroying the environment and destroying the ozone layer and climate change and everything that's going on these days. So apparently it does terrible things. Now there are apparently blockchains that do have a ton of emissions that it gives off, but there are also what they call like environmentally friendly sort of blockchains that have less emissions that it goes out to because of the fact that it may not be something digital that you're purchasing, but it may be something like digital that you purchase that you can redeem for an actual physical copy. And I think because of that, because they don't have to crunch numbers for and hold that stuff for a long period of time, that it probably doesn't push out as much emissions into the world and in the environment. So, you can believe whether or not they're environmentally friendly or not, but there are some blockchains that claim to certainly be, whereas other blockchains are just terrible when it comes to polluting the world, right? So I think there are two arguments in regards to it, but it's one of those things where NFTs these days have become so mainstream. And when you've got so many companies out there that really have this capitalistic mentality, they want to make a buck. You know what I'm saying? It's a new stream of revenue that they haven't tapped into yet, that regardless of what people feel, whether it be environment or pyramid scheme, people are investing in it. And we've seen a lot of big companies starting to kind of do that, right? Hasbro did it for their Zord Ascension project with the black and gold Megazord, which they decided to go the more environmentally friendly route with the Wax blockchain, where you purchase it, you get a token, a digital token, but this time you get to redeem that token for an actual physical copy. Most of the time, NFTs, again, it's simply digital. You don't have true ownership of it, but you're paying a ton of money for this type of stuff. So I think everybody should certainly do their own research. I don't necessarily think that you should just sit by and listen to one voice or one of all the same voices that are telling you things. I think you have the right to go ahead and do your own research in regards to the impacts of NFT, and that's something that you certainly want to support. Now, I personally don't. I don't really care for NFTs, nor what it does to the environment. So I'm probably never going to fuck around with the NFT. But I don't care anymore at this point about what other people do with their fucking lives.
Mhm.
Like for me, my frustration comes with the idea, Stuart, of the way that we tend to treat people these days, of like belittling everybody that doesn't necessarily agree with our own points of view. I find that really disturbing. Like this past week, Chance Perez came out, who's the Black Ranger on Dino Fury. He came out and he talked about some of the NFTs that he was invested in, right? And people really just like shit on this guy all past 24 hours in regards to his decision making, talking, oh, maybe he doesn't know what he's doing. I'm pretty sure he's done his own research and he's certainly made up his mind. And I get the idea of people being passionate about wanting to save the environment, wanting to avoid people from getting into these pyramid schemes that it doesn't really do anything for you. But look, there are people that love it. And the trajectory in which we're going in this world, it feels like 90% of the things that we support, or the actors and people that we support, are going to get invested in this. And
Mhm.
what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to just start unfollowing and blocking and not supporting 90% of the things that we love and appreciate, sort of thing, right? So like, where does it end for some people when you've got a whole list of people that you follow and you look up in a year and like, oh damn, my list is just it's just dwindling away. Like I'm not supporting anybody because everybody's a part of NFTs. Not to say like everybody's doing it, so you have to follow along with it. But I guess my thing would be, I think there's such a much better way to go about it than just shitting on people, because it's one of
Mhm.
those things. It's like, what are you doing for the environment? Like sometimes I think a lot of this stuff is just fake outrage. People jumping on board because, one, it's maybe not necessarily the best thing in the world, but I feel like you've got fake activists and you know, um, fake anger out there of people just wanting to show their stance on NFT by bringing other people down. But when you look at them in the real world, they're probably not doing anything for the environment. Like, do you have an all electric car that you drive around in every day? Is your house living just solely off of solar power? Are you taking public transportation each and every day to avoid putting your own carbon emissions into the air? Are you volunteering to go pick up trash on the side of the highway? Are you planting trees on a regular basis? Like, if you're not doing any of that shit, why are you talking? Like, why are you bashing somebody else if you're not making any sort of active statement or trying to help the environment in your own particular personal way? And so for me, that's where I get frustrated with the things, is that the people that want to put other people down for making these choices that, while I don't necessarily agree with, what are you doing to offset what these people are doing? Are you doing anything, or you just want to be a keyboard warrior and crap on somebody and hold your stance, but you're really not doing anything about it? And so that's really what is kind of driving me crazy when it comes to this NFT thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's it's all like really complicated for me. So it's like, yeah. I'm just gonna not support it. That's kind of just where my stance is. I'm also not gonna really make any rants about them on Twitter or anything like that. I'm just gonna not support it, and people want to, like, yeah, that's their choice, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, Nathan says, look, if the government of the world aren't trying to protect the environment, how does anyone think regular citizens are going to band together and protect the environment? Jared says, the NFT situation, you'll never see me get into it. And I probably never will get into it either.
Oh
But,
yeah, no.
I don't think it helps the situation or helps the environment. I know people get passionate, and, just the idea of like shaming every single person that's invested in it. Guys, are we going to shame every company? Because listen,
Yeah.
my thing is, are you going to stop purchasing stuff from Hasbro? No, you're not, right? You're still going to purchase stuff. Are you going to stop supporting Chance Perez and his music? I'm sure there are probably some people that probably will, but I'm sure Chance probably won't even feel it. And honestly, I'm pretty sure that there are celebrities and people that you know and love that do NFTs that you don't even know about, that aren't, especially with the direction and the climate that things are, they probably aren't even going to put that stuff out in the public to share with people these days as much anymore, sort of thing. So my thing is just like, I'm just not a fan of like the shaming of people. If you feel that type of way about NFTs, educate people in a sense, and do something for the environment yourself, if you feel that passionately about it. But people aren't. I think if anything, they just want to bitch, they just want to shame, and they probably are doing the least the minimum for the environment themselves, and yet want to talk shit about other people. I just don't dig it, man.
Sorry, last thing, and then we'll move on. But like, the other thing too is that if you really don't like it, probably don't talk about it then, because I feel like the biggest thing too on Twitter is that I wouldn't have even given NFTs a second thought had it not been for like the passionate rage from everyone on Twitter. So I feel like that's what's getting more people interested in NFTs, is the hatred of it. Plus, they know like the type of people they're going to be pissing off, and that's going to make them want to support NFTs even more. So I think if people really want NFTs to like come to an end, stop talking about them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely was certainly go a long way. And again, I'm not a supporter of it, nor am I trying to promote it. But I do think that if you are curious about it, you have every right to go ahead and certainly do your own research, the pros and the cons, and certainly make that decision for yourself. And yeah, and that's all there really is to it for me at the end of the day. What are your thoughts or reaction when Hasbro and Jonathan Entwistle announced that the Power Ranger Reimagining universe is coming to Netflix instead of movie theaters? And what does this tell you about Dino Fury when it ends this summer or fall in 2022? Why Netflix is still a huge part and relevancy as a regional streaming service versus the other services? Well, I will say this, when the last part of your question, I think Netflix is still relevant because I think they understood where the streaming services were going to go. The fact that they spent years beforehand creating original content for themselves, whether that be movies and films, I think it definitely gave them very much sort of a leg up when you eventually wind up getting other streaming services like Disney Plus, along with HBO Max, that have a lot of their own created content, sort of thing. So I think Netflix getting ahead of the curve in regards to original content for their streaming services, and not just purchasing IPs and things like that and other properties. The fact that they're creating things of their own, I think that's helped them stay ahead of things and continue to be relevant. But that maybe that's just me. What do you think has helped Netflix stay relevant?
100% everything that you said, and the fact that they learned what happens to certain businesses when they can't learn to adapt properly, because they're the ones who put Blockbuster out of business, and it wasn't because video rentals were no longer going to be relevant. It was because Blockbusters, like the way they tried to adapt to Netflix by just doing the same things but being stupid about it, it led to them going under. Whereas Netflix seems ready to adapt all the time, not only based on like competition, but based on what they know that people are looking for in streaming services.
Yeah, I totally agree. And as far as what were my thoughts and reaction when they said that they were going to be coming to Netflix instead of movie theaters? It didn't surprise me at all. We had this prediction. I think I predicted this way back in like June of last year. So I even made a video in regards to it, the idea of why Power Rangers should move its movie directly to streaming instead of the box office. I just think it really mitigates a lot of risk financially for them. And so I'm glad that that's the route that they went. So it didn't surprise me. I felt like I can kind of see it coming personally. But did it surprise you at all, Stuart?
Not a lot, but a little bit. Yeah, I thought like there would be kind of a thing where you'd get TV shows on Netflix, but like movies would go to theaters. But that said, I have nothing against the way they want to do it. Like, in fact, I actually think it might be better because now they don't have to worry about competing with other movie schedules. And so if they want to like tell a specific story, if they want to set up a specific arc, they can do it however they want. They can set up each movie or each television season wherever, whenever they want to within the year. And seeing like the way The Witcher, for example, has been expanding its universe with its own TV show and then an animated series, and then like rumors of like other things coming out for Witcher. Yeah, if we're gonna get that with Power Rangers, I think Netflix is the perfect home for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you too. I think they've got something special brewing. And that's why we were just talking about the idea of like Squid Games,
Mhm.
expanding more with that IP, not just streaming services, but things on the outside. Netflix is really has that mentality of growing cinematic universes and worlds, and just building upon some of their IPs when they know they've got something really great working for them. So yeah, a lot of promise there.
I will say this though, if they are going to move Power Rangers to Netflix, can we just bring back all the seasons then? Because why not just make it the only hub for
The
it
home.
then? That yeah,
I
I'd be
get you.
happy with that.
I get you. Let's see here. This is from Doomsday. He's got a couple questions. Which movie are you most anticipated for? The Batman or Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness?
Man, I'm gonna say the Batman. I mean, I think like at this point, after Spider-Man No Way Home, I will be shocked if Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness is able to pull off anything that would surprise me. At this point,
I don't know,
I
Stuart.
think I don't know. I feel like the moment you kind of do multiverse and you bring back legacy actors, I feel like at that point you've kind of peaked yourself in terms of surprising, not in terms of story. There's still plenty of stories that Marvel movies can make, but I think in terms of like like the character, like it's surprise though, an overall shock of oh my god, I never thought we'd get to see this on the big screen. So I'm gonna go with the Batman because I know like that I love the way it looks and I feel like it's really gonna have a great story going on for it.
If I had to choose, I definitely am gonna go the Batman also. I really have loved everything that I've seen coming out for the Batman. Really highly up there in my most anticipated movies of 2022 for sure. Not to say that I'm not highly anticipating Doctor Strange. I know that movie is gonna blow me away. Like for me,
Mhm.
I really want to see some incredible cameos. Like I'm really hoping I get a Agent Carter appearance, or I should say Captain Carter appearance from Haley Atwell. I think would really go a long way. I think it would be pretty cool to even see like Chris Evans, Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four gear. Like I would love, like I do think that there are some really great cameos and surprises that they might floor us with. You know, they did talk about that Doctor Strange 2 went back for a lot of big reshoots that some people were saying was meant to put in some cameos and stuff, last minute kind of appearances. Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider, who know, like, just if you could hit me with some like just Wesley Snipes' Blade, like, dude, if you could hit me with some of those, I would absolutely die. So I think there's a lot of potential for Doctor Strange. But for me, it's still the Batman. I think just name recognition alone, the idea that we got ourselves a brand new actor in the role. We've got somebody like Matt Reeves that knows exactly what they're doing behind the scenes, that from everything that I can tell, looks like he's going to hit the tone of Batman and really present us with a very dark and gritty noir detective story. And I'm really hoping that this allows it to just branch out into more when it comes to the Bat family and the Batman as a cinematic universe in its own right. I would really love to see what this turns into. So for me, the Batman, but make no mistake, Doctor Strange 2 is definitely up there, probably like my top 5 for sure of anticipated films.
Yeah, definitely.
Did you like how the Eternals added in some DC references such as Batman and Superman? Oh, that's right. They did mention the Superman reference, right?
Yeah. I don't know why people were annoyed by that. It's like that's not an uncommon thing. You have DC movies referencing Marvel movies all the time. So yeah, it makes sense that Marvel would finally reference DC. In fact, I think, definitely correct me wrong, but I'm sure we've gotten like DC references in some of the Marvel TV shows before Eternals.
Maybe
not the MCU TV shows on Disney Plus, but I think like I swear I remember like hearing name drops in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I could be wrong about that. But regardless, the whole idea of the multiverse, is the idea that like with everything vibrating at different frequencies and just, the fact that the multiverse can exist in all sorts of forms. The idea is that like certain elements can be like planted into other people's dreams because when they're dreaming, that's like what kind of I think that's the DC explanation, is that when they're dreaming, you can like unknowingly like, visit other realities type of a thing. And so, or other realities get implanted into your head without you realizing it. So that's where like a lot of fictional stories kind of come from in DC that end up being true in other realities. So for example, you had the Flash of Earth 1 who would always read the Flash comic books with Jay Garrett. And then a few, issues later, it turns out Jay Garrett's from Earth 2. And that like, whoever wrote the Flash comic books with Jay Garrett, just, somehow the ideas of Earth 2 were flowing into his head. It's the weird explanation they come up with. Like, does it make a lot of sense? Probably not. But you know what? That the explanation does exist out there.
That's cool. I didn't even know there was an explanation. That's pretty badass, though. And then Doomsday's last question says, how impressed were you with the Marvel's visuals for Doctor Strange? Were you a fan?
For the first Doctor Strange, yeah. I saw the joke used a lot of times, which I kind of agree. Like it's like Christopher Nolan wishes Inception looked like this. And yeah, it's one of the best looking Marvel movies out there, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how they take it even farther with Doctor Strange 2.
Yeah, I was impressed. It was one I didn't get the opportunity to see Doctor Strange in theaters, but it was a movie that I wanted to see in theaters and in 3D. I was a big fan of 3D movies back in the day. I know everybody certainly wasn't, but it felt like for certain movies, I definitely wanted to check it out in 3D, and Doctor Strange was definitely one of them. So visually, though, it looked great. It definitely looked great. Adrian Perez, he's got a couple questions. What do you guys think of season 3 of Batwoman so far? How does it compare to seasons 1 and 2, especially with, I believe, Ryan Wilder and Sophie are now a couple or a thing? Do you feel like Sophie is attracted to Batwoman? And would you like to see Kate Kane return in the future with Wallace Day reprising her role? What have you thought so far of season 3, Stuart? Have you been keeping up with it?
Yeah, I like season 3 for the most part. It's probably my favorite out of the two, just because this one is just kind of the one that really embraces the kind of silliness of it. I want to say it doesn't take itself as serious as the previous 2 seasons, and I think that actually kind of works in this show's favor. with it being a little more like fun, I guess you could say. I think visually though, this actually looks a lot of the costume designs in this season. I actually do hope they get kind of at least nominated for an Emmy because especially with that Killer Croc outfit, like holy crap, that was amazing. Uh, yeah, so I'm overall pretty much enjoying this. I forgot what were the other parts of the question.
Oh, just about Ryan and Sophie.
Oh
He believes
yeah,
they're a couple now. Do you think Sophie's attracted to Batwoman?
probably. I'll say that the romance is probably my least favorite part of Batwoman. It's not the best written. I feel like they're really just trying to pander to the shipping community, and that's why.
Mm.
Because I feel like Sophie and Ryan being together already makes no sense. Especially because there was nothing so far to imply them being together, and then suddenly out of nowhere at the end, it's like they're treated like the two of. At the end of the most recent episode, it's like treated as if the two of them have always been a couple throughout the season, which just makes no sense at all. Because you have Ryan being jealous that she slept with someone else, and it's like, what? It's
Yeah,
weird.
I haven't caught up with Batwoman, but yeah, you would think that especially people in the Owlverse would learn a lesson from Oliver and Felicity.
Mhm.
Sometimes the idea, I think they get way too behind what the fans are shipping and really end up forcing storylines that probably don't make any sense, type of thing. So I just wish that they would
Exactly.
handle those relationships a little bit different. What do you think of the CW Hourverse mini crossover we recently had on the Flash? What do you want to see with the rest of season 8 when comes to storyline and time travel? I
I
actually don't think I finished the last portion of that crossover, the Mia Smoke one.
Oh, okay. It was fine. Definitely the weakest out of all five of them. But I still enjoyed it.
As a crossover though, in general, were you a fan of the mini crossover?
Oh yeah, yeah. All together, I think all five parts were really good. Um, as for like the rest of the season, I really hope the writing doesn't go downhill. I think like the biggest thing that worries me is that they made such a big deal about how the Flash has really evolved this season and how he's leveled up as they keep saying over and over as they keep like hammering that into you. Hey, I've leveled up, guys. Keep that in mind. So I really hope after we've seen him being really skilled in this crossover event. I really hope we don't just suddenly see him being exactly like he was in the Flash season 7 and going back to making really stupid decisions. And I also really hope they continue to give Iris West her own storyline instead of having to constantly have her and Barry chained together. Because I think like the way they set her story up, it's the same way they've set it up the past two seasons, but this time I really hope they follow through with it. Like I swear Eric Wallace has been making the same promise every season, and every season it's a lie. It's like, oh, we're giving Iris her own storyline, she's going to be doing her own thing this season, and it's still going to relate to the Flash, and it never does. It never is her own thing. It's always like he's right, she gets screen time, but it never feels like it's screen time to develop her character or give her something to do. It's always to have her be rescued by someone else or to be the one who tells Barry, who's supposed to be incredibly smart, that he's being stupid. So, it's I want her to continue running the Citizen, and I really hope they kind of write her character the same way they've been writing Lois Lane on Superman and Lois.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty cool. Cause yeah, I have enjoyed the citizen aspect of her story from what I've seen so far this season. So it definitely felt promising. What did you guys think of the new set photos of Leslie Grace as Batgirl, plus the new trailer and clips of Robert Pattinson as a Batman? Anything you're nervous and excited about for both DCEU films? Well, when it comes to Batgirl, I don't know if we've seen new set photos. I mean, we did see the official look at her costume. I don't. Outside of the set photos, I just remember the Gotham City mural of Batman and Robin, but I haven't seen any new set photos of Leslie Grace's Batgirl since then. So if there are some new ones, I might have to go ahead and check them out. Let me just even go and Google Batgirl set photos and see if anything certainly comes up. But is there anything, Stuart, that you're nervous or excited about for both DCEU films with Batgirl and Batman?
Mm. I guess I think I am more nervous about the world building in Batgirl. Just because I feel like with some of the rumors about the direction they're going to be going in with the Justice League and how like Batman and Superman aren't really going to be Justice League members anymore.
Oh,
I feel like that's the thing I'm nervous about, is getting that confirmation that Bruce Wayne is retired as Batman. I really hope they don't retire Batman and Superman, and that's the main thing I'm worried about with Batgirl.
I can see that. I think if there is a worry or concern of mine, it probably is that too. My notion behind that is just two things. One, I don't believe I've ever seen an iteration of the Justice League that just don't include those members and include Supergirl and Batgirl. So just from a comic book side of things, it feels just weird to me. It feels more like just a Young Justice or like a Teen Titans sort of mindset sort of thing. But the one thing that I also mentioned too is, because it's still so new, like for me, I need to see Batgirl and Supergirl do something worthy of being on a team like Justice League. Like let me see their stories certainly told first. And if you can win me over, then maybe I'll be a little bit more on board with it. So I definitely am going to give it some time, but it definitely does worry me. But that's probably, I would agree with you, probably my biggest worry. The Batman, I'm not so much worried about. If anything, I think if there is a worry, maybe just pacing of the film. It does seem like it could get dark and dreary, be kind of methodical. I am curious if that's going to be too boring for some fans, right? That want to just see impact and action all the time. And don't get me wrong, just based off of the trailers that we've seen, there definitely is going to be action in this movie. But I'm just trying to figure out where people would complain the most at, and that's probably my biggest worry. But outside of that, I'm really looking forward to what the DCEU is kind of building. I think this is a really fresh start and a fresh take for them. If they could utilize the Flash in a really great and compelling story to change the status quo and create a new branching off point for the DCEU, I think there's a lot of promising things. And I think a lot of the things that I've seen so far have been more promising than worrying for me personally. But that could just be me. Let's see here. A couple other questions. Ionis has got a couple questions. My favorite moments from Batman versus Superman. Favorite moments from Batman versus Superman, and why some people consider it one of the worst superhero crossover films. Stuart, I know this is going to be difficult for you. Any favorite moment from Batman versus Superman?
The very opening scene I actually really like. I can kind of make fun of the fact that it's clearly a car commercial, but I don't mind that because I thought it was still amazingly well directed.
I feel like they even used it in the car commercial for that car.
Oh, they did, yeah. It's exactly the same thing like in Avengers: Age of Ultron. They had that scene where it was.
That's right.
It's just at least in Batman v Superman, it actually flowed with the story better. Whereas in Avengers, it was like literally like they took a break from the movie to show Hawkeye and Black Widow just riding it. Oh, I don't remember what car it was. BMW, right? And it comes out of nowhere. Like, it was so dumb. At least like starting your movie that way, at least that helped it flow into the story. So I crap on Batman v Superman a lot, but I just gave it props over an Avengers movie. So there you go. Yeah, I thought everything about that opening scene was amazing. The way it was directed, that moment where you have Ben Affleck, trying to comfort a girl who clearly just lost her family or something. And then just that look of Superman fighting Zod in the distance and how it kind of comes off as UFO footage. I love everything about that opening scene. I think it was so amazingly directed. And even though I crap on the writing in that movie a lot of times, Zack Snyder is a great director. And so there are some really great moments of directing. That said, I do think that scene was ruined in the extended version where they suddenly have to have like that weird moment where it's a bunch of kids holding hands and like, sticking together like a group. But if I couldn't tell if that was meant to be a joke or not. So yeah, I prefer the theatrical version of that opening scene.
I get you. I think you're a closet Batman versus Superman fan. I think you want to like it. I think you want to like it.
I want to. Okay, I've never denied that. I
I
wish
know.
I could see what Zack Snyder fans see in Batman v Superman. I
I
do.
get you. I get
So
you.
yeah, I'm not denying about.
Some of my favorite moments from Batman versus Superman, I love the battle between them. I truly did. I love the fact that we clearly do get ourselves a pretty definitive answer as to who wins that battle, which I thought was just a really great and smart and thought out battle between Batman versus Superman. So I at least appreciated that certainly coming through. I also I'm also a really big fan of the Lex Luthor and Superman scene towards the end when Superman finally confronts Lex and Lex gives him this huge speech letting him know that he's got his mother captured, sort of thing. I really love that moment between those two characters. Like that's the only time that I ever find Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor as any sort of levels of menacing. I'm just glad that he came up with a pretty good ass plan in order to get Superman to be on his knees, sort of thing. So I thought that was pretty neat. And then of course the Batman action sequence when he goes to save Martha, the ass whooping that he puts on those people, incredible. It's one of those things that like so why I wanted to see a solo Batman film so incredibly badly. But yeah, those are a couple of my favorite moments from that particular movie.
I, it's funny because yeah, I kind of like that scene where Batman saves Martha, but I hate so much how it ends with him like shooting the tank, blowing the room up, but
Oh,
somehow being able to protect Martha and get her out of. I hate that the ending of that scene so much that it almost ruins it for me. But I do agree that fight scene leading up to it is really cool.
and why some people consider one of the worst superhero crossover films. I mean, I think the tone probably just didn't work for a lot of people. You know, I personally rather would have had a solo Batman film. The idea that you're kind of trying to fit Superman in a Batman type of film, I could see maybe didn't work for some people. You know, they had already just kind of had to swallow a Man of Steel movie that already wasn't Boy Scout Superman, you know? And so the next time that you see him, it seems even more dreary and down and depressed. Like I personally appreciate the route that Zack Snyder went in regards to just the mindset that Clark is in that movie. But I can see why there was pushback for sure. Um I don't think it did that bad in the box office personally, but when you've got Superman and Batman, I think anything less than $1 billion is a failure. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I can see why they would look at it that way. I'm not saying anybody any stretch of imagination. As big of a fan of Batman versus Superman as I am, I didn't mind the movie. I actually prefer the extended cut a little bit more. I'm also not oblivious to seeing that movie and realizing why people don't like it. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, I think the two main things for me was definitely everything with Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. I don't think there's a
Yeah, I'm
single
not a fan.
positive thing I was able to say about his version of Lex Luthor, especially because like the only like the scene you were talking about, the menacing scene, like out of context, it's a good scene, but
Mhm.
like when you watch it with the movie, it makes no sense. I'm sorry, but like his plan that he puts together makes zero sense at all when you think about it, you know? Um, but yeah, and then also like the whole thing where we're supposed to be rooting for Batman at the end because this is the return to Batman with his glory days. This is no longer the dark broody Batman that we had for like 90% of the movie, but this is also our first time seeing this Batman. So it's like, how are we supposed to know this isn't what he's normally like? Because for me, it took me several watches before I finally realized, oh, okay, he wasn't always a murdering psychopath. Okay, got it. That would have been really good to know. You know, perhaps if we had a solo Batman movie before this, then I would have known that.
No, I totally get you, man. I totally understand. Let's see here. Why do you think many Transformers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are hated by fans and critics? Both franchises starring the beautiful and sexy Megan Fox. I mean, that might be key. I don't know. Hey, beautiful and sexy don't mean anything if you can't act. But anyway, I'm not the biggest Megan Fox fan. I mean, I think she's probably okay in some things that she tackles, but I'm not running to a lot of the series or movies that she's certainly a part of. So yeah, I don't think necessarily beautiful and sexy means automatically great franchises. Um, but yeah, why do you think many of the Transformers and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies are hated by fans and critics?
Just because it's all action, not really much substance, and a lot of for me, like a lot of the jokes that are in them, they just feel like really bad sitcom pilot jokes that never like they feel like jokes that are ripped from a sitcom pilot that never actually got picked up for a full season, and you totally understand why. And that's the majority of what the jokes feel like in them. And unfortunately, both the Ninja Turtles and Transformers franchises are like 40% jokes, 40% action, and then maybe 20% dialogue.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
Yeah.
just it's funny for me the comparison, the link between both of these movies is Michael Bay.
Yeah.
And I think I think that might say something in and of itself. The fact that these movies are very much dependent on special effects and action, and less focus on characters and actual story development. So I think that probably went a long way.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen one of the most recent Netflix films, Till Death? She was incredible, and many reviewers and critics say it's one of the best acting roles she's been in ever part of. I actually have heard that. I haven't watched it myself, but it has popped up on my queue to certainly check out. So I have heard that she's pretty good in it, but I personally haven't checked it out myself. I don't really have any intentions to, but maybe I've already made my decision on Megan Fox and don't really care to check out much of what she's in. Maybe that's unfair of me, but I don't know.
She was good in Jennifer's Body, if I remember correctly. It's been a
Oh,
minute since I've seen it, but she wasn't
yeah.
bad.
Yeah. So maybe some things work for her, but I don't necessarily know of her as like the lead of a franchise as to whether or not that's yeah.
No, it probably is. Just knowing like the way Michael Bay directs women specifically in his movies. I don't think he really gives them any acting notes. I think he's just kind of the guy that goes, babe, you don't need to act, just look pretty. And so like, if they're ever like, hey, wait, what's my motivation in the scene? Your motivation is that you got to look pretty for the camera. I could be wrong. Maybe Michael Bay isn't as misogynistic as like his films make him look, but that's what I think it is. I haven't
That's
met
pretty
the guy,
funny.
so for all I
You
know, he could
haven't.
be a good person. Who knows?
This other couple common questions from Skylar. Appreciate your comments and thoughts here, Skylar. Best or worst moments from DCU's Justice League and the Snyder Cut?
Mm. Uh,
For me, best moment, Snyder Cut, the Flash sequence.
mhm.
At the end, seeing Homeboy literally save everybody's life. I thought that was pretty jaw-dropping and pretty emotional stuff. I really loved seeing that. That's probably my best moment of the Snyder Cut.
I know a lot of people aren't like the biggest fan of the way Ezra Miller's Flash runs. I personally loved it, and I personally love the way the Speed Force was represented in that last scene. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to agree with you that final moment with the Flash basically saving the universe at the very end by like rewinding time, but like to the perfect moment. Like that action scene at the end was so cool. I definitely
even
loved
the
it.
even the another scene that I loved out of that one too was when Superman finally arrives and Steppenwolf's axe just like steps on
Yeah.
this thing and he just looks at it and he's like not impressed. I was like,
Yeah.
oh shit. Yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
Uh,
Um,
yeah. As
best
for
and worst
worst,
moments for yeah, I'm trying to think of worst moments too.
I mean, any scene, there were a lot of scenes that, I mean, it wasn't necessarily that the scenes were bad on their own. It was just the movie was already 4 hours. And so you have a lot of scenes that just really feel pointless. So, like the Iris West scene, I feel like doesn't need to be there.
Mm,
The
mhm.
Aquaman scene dragged way too long when you had like the women just like being creepy, like by sniffing his like freaking
Oh
shirt that he took
yeah, that
off
was
and then
super
singing. Like,
creepy, super cringy.
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically any of the scenes that could have been cut from the movie that wouldn't have affected the story, I guess those are my least favorite parts, which unfortunately is quite a bit.
Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of that moment too. That's a good one because I remember I was like, is she sniffing his sweater? What the fuck is going on here? Yeah, it was kind of cringy. With the Flash DCEU movie coming this or next year, I believe it's coming out this year, how do you think it will separate itself from the current CW series? And what characters do you want to see pop up when Barry is time traveling or perhaps in the post-credit scene? How do you respond to people online who say Grant Gustin and Candace Patton are the one and only Barry Allen and Iris West? And do you think Grant himself will pop up? I still hope he pops up.
Mm-hmm.
I know that the Flash writers have mentioned that just the idea of them doing that cameo in Crisis, that the CW writers worked hand in hand with the Flash writers and stuff. And also, if we look the way that it's filmed, it feels very it's in widescreen mode too. So there's a part of me that wonders if they made that widescreen specifically because they want that moment to be in the movie when it's released. So I do think that that same scene will pop up in the movie, but that's just maybe me being hopeful. As far as people saying like, Barry and, Grant and Gustins are there one and only Barry and Iris, I mean, that's cool and all. I mean, people are always going to have like their favorites, but we live in a multiverse at this particular point in time. There is a world where you can have multiple people representing their characters, and the CW character has been around for quite some time. It's the most recognizable one. So I get people that say that. I just say, just don't be completely closed-minded or not open to the idea of there being another Flash, because Ezra might impress you too, sort of thing. But how do you think it'll separate itself from the CW series?
I mean, just by being separate. I don't know.
I mean,
it's hard to know what they mean by that question, but for the most part, I
think they've already separated itself. Like it's just two completely different things.
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to go like as full like multiverse in the same way that the Flash always does on the TV show. It feels like it's going to be just two universes kind of colliding because of time travel. So I don't think it's going to be them fully exploring or fully getting to learn about the multiverse like we think. But I do also, like you, I really hope that Flash cameo that we get in Crisis, either we get that like in the movie itself, or at the very least, it would still be really cool to like just see Grant have a different cameo and maybe have the two of them recognize each other. I really hope they don't pretend that cameo didn't happen, which I don't think they will, because like you even mentioned, the Flash writers helped them with it. And, the director of the Flash, she mentioned, I helped work on that scene and I knew about it when I was writing the script.
I'm assuming I'm hoping it's in there somewhere. What do you think of the death scene of Tony Stark and Natasha in Avengers Endgame? Do you think T'Challa will have a death scene or excuse for not being in Black Panther 2 in an impactful way? Let's tackle the first aspect of this. I thought the death scenes for both Tony and Natasha were handled pretty well. I feel like I appreciate Natasha's death scene even more now, even after watching the Hawkeye series, though, and really getting to see the level of impact her sacrifice had on Barton and even Yelena. Like I think that's one of the aspects of the Hawkeye series I was really fond of, is to see Clint and how he's handling things, very PTSD in the sense of, well, maybe not even so much that, but just really missing his friend, and just really highlighting just how close that they truly were. So when I go back and I watch Endgame and I see that sacrifice, it feels even more heavy than what it did the first time. But I thought both death scenes were handled extremely well, especially Tony's.
I definitely think Tony's was handled the best, but I mean, it's kind of unsurprising that his was handled better because, he's the one who was like the face of the MCU. So obviously his was going to have a bigger impact. For Natasha's death, I think I liked how it was handled, like you were mentioning in Hawkeye. Like I thought the scene between Clint when he was fighting Natasha's sister, I thought that it made me appreciate that scene a lot more. I know that a lot of fans have a problem with the way it was handled because it comes off as fridging her, and I get that. And for the most part, that's like not incorrect to say it that way. But I do think with Endgame, given like all the other things that they do to show other kind of forms of female empowerment, I do think it's like one of those things where having one female character get fridged when you have a lot of other female characters, you know, also still alive and still out there ready to kick ass. I don't think it was that bad to do something like that. You know what I mean?
Wait, what did you call it? Fridging?
Yeah.
What?
It's what
I don't even know what that means.
It's basically when a character is killed off for the only purpose of like developing other people's characters. And the phrase comes from a Green Lantern comic where Hal Jordan finds his wife chopped up and stuffed in the fridge when he gets home. Somehow that became like the phrase that people use for just like killing off characters before they develop. Although with Black Widow, she did have development before she got killed. So I don't know if that technically follows under the category of fridging. Maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, just based off of the definition and what you're telling me, like, I guess I just don't. I guess for me, I don't see it that way. I don't think. I mean, I definitely do think there's a benefit to Hawkeye's character growing from her death, but that feels more natural than forced to me. You know, the idea of losing a close friend and somebody that you know fundamentally will change anybody. You know, so I think that definitely does help with the progression of his character, but I don't necessarily know if she was only killed with the benefit of doing that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I don't see it that way, just based off of the impact that Black Widow has already had and that she still has for a lot of these characters. So I think I get what you mean.
And I think that's why I don't see it that way either. Because yeah, she also like wasn't created in Iron Man 2 just to
specifically
be killed off in Endgame,
right,
you know?
Right, yeah. Exactly. And last couple questions from Joey. What's up, Joey? Thank you for coming through with some more questions. Favorite video game and comic book TV series and movie adaptation of all time. Favorite video game and comic book TV and movie adaptation.
Man, TV adaptation comic book wise, probably it's like tied between either Doom Patrol or The Watchmen.
Oh, that's a good one.
And sorry, so for video game, they're asking about video game adaptations.
I'm
trying
probably
to think of, like,
Sonic right now for me, surprisingly.
Yeah, I like the '90s Mortal Kombat movie too. So you know, I could definitely say I really like the first Mortal Kombat. That was a great adaptation.
TV series, I probably will go with Watchmen. That was pretty damn impressive. Movie adaptation of all time. Oh God, that's a tough one.
Yeah, comic book movie adaptation.
I mean, damn, I feel like comic book movie adaptation.
Oh, that's I'm not sure.
It said comic book TV series and movie adaptation of all time. So I'm assuming a comic book that was adapted into a movie.
Well, if we're going by comic book, like, you know, period, and not like comic book characters, then it'd be probably it'd be a tie for me then between Sin City and Watchmen. Maybe, you know what? I think I'm going to go with Watchmen for that one. Both the Watchmen TV show and movie.
I was wondering if I was thinking like Logan, but I don't know. Yeah. I feel like that might be. There's definitely some differences from the comic book version itself for sure. But I love that movie. What do you remember when the Arrow series was announced, and what impact did it give a TV when it comes to superhero adaptations? And what similarities with the Marvel Iron Man franchise? I mean, damn. I mean, it felt like Arrow had a huge influence, man. I mean, it's formed the CW verse as we know it today. You know, I mean, it may have, you know, branched off and started eventually becoming its own thing, but I think even now, after all these years, people still refer to it as the Arrowverse. I mean, I think it's changing to the CW verse a little bit more, but there's no mistaking that even when we get these new series like Naomi and Stargirl and Superman and Lois, while there may not be a ton of connections, I mean, I guess they are now, right? Because we had Diggle pop up in Superman and Lois too. I mean, all these great shows are drawn from Arrow and what Arrow wind up doing. Arrow always pays homage to Smallville for kind of starting the trend of superhero television series, but Arrow just definitely made it soar and skyrocketed to popularity for sure. So yeah, it has a huge impact, huge lasting impact.
Yeah, it sucks that I didn't watch Arrow when it first aired because I mean, for one, I actually thought it was like a spinoff show of Smallville, so I didn't watch it because like I didn't watch Smallville, so I thought I'd be lost. But yeah, it's crazy to see how much it's grown. I started watching it when the first season of The Flash came out. And I would watch them side by side, and I thought that was as big as it was going to get. That one crossover you had with Arrow season 3 and Flash season 1, where they visited each other's shows. I'm like, okay, this is really cool. It's it's not going to be, it's never going to be Avengers big or anything like that, but it's like kind of cool to have this like cute little mini crossover. And then when it started expanding with Legends, and then they added Supergirl to that, and then they started adding even more with oh god, what were the other? They had Batwoman and Black Lightning as well, and it's just like this thing just kept growing and growing. That was when I realized, it's like this is basically Avengers if they never were able to pitch it to any studios. If they had to like make Avengers on television, this is basically what it would have looked like. And even though I mentioned a few times how I always wish that the DCEU could have gone in a more Marvel kind of format in terms of how they built their universe. But, even though I'll never get that on the big screen, I'm at least happy to know that like on the small screen, there were other fans like me that had that same idea. They didn't have the budget or the resources to make it as big as Marvel, but they definitely tried. So it makes me, even appreciate the bad seasons of the Arrowverse shows. Also, I refuse to call it the CW verse. I will call it like a DC CW verse, but I will not call it the CW verse because that implies it's connected to other CW shows.
Oh, I gotcha. I get what you're saying. Yeah, no, I still refer to it as the Arrowverse for sure. But yeah, very well said. Yeah, I think and when people crap on Arrowverse and the CW shows now, I'm just like, man, have y'all forgotten how great this was when this first started? Like, man, we have a lot to be thankful for in regards to what the Arrow series really launched for us. So yeah, always going to be very much a big fan. And similarities with Marvel's Iron Man franchise. I mean, definitely that in the sense of just helping kick the MCU off. A really great establishment of some another character that wasn't even an A-lister, but taking a B level character and making them turning them into a star. I don't know if Green Arrow would ever have that level of popularity if it wasn't for the success of the Arrow show. Original thoughts on The Rock being cast for Black Adam as well as Zachary Levi as Shazam. This can apply to Henry Cavill as Superman. I think I was like 5 years old when The Rock was announced. I don't know. It was like 30 something years ago as Black Adam, but I thought it was perfect. I thought the casting for him was perfect. Zachary Levi, I was a little bit uncertain about, honestly, just because leading up to Shazam, I honestly wasn't the biggest Zachary Levi fan. I hadn't really followed him in a lot of his series and movies before, but I really fell in love with him as an actor after seeing him in Shazam. I do think that he embodies a Billy Batson perfectly after having seen him in Shazam, and Henry Cavill too. I mean, I don't think I knew who Henry Cavill was, but he definitely won me over with Man of Steel after checking him out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I mentioned how I'm not the biggest fan of Man of Steel, but none of my negative like critiques about it have to do with Henry Cavill. I do think when it came to casting him as Superman, it's no surprise that Warner Brothers has been wanting to do this since Superman Returns. Because apparently like for that he was like a close second or third for who they wanted to cast as Superman back then, and it's easy to see why for sure. Yeah, and as for like Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam, okay, so I wasn't too happy about it at first because originally I thought he was being cast as Shazam, which at the time I thought would have been so perfect for him. I thought like Dwayne Johnson playing a 10-year-old was like the perfect role for him. So like, when it turned out that he actually meant that he was playing the villain, I was a little less excited about that. And then when I saw that Zachary Levi was playing Shazam, I thought, I mean, I'll watch it, but Yeah, my hype was not high. Let's just say that. And it wasn't until seeing the first trailer where I'm like, okay, I was wrong. I'll admit it. Zachary Levi looks like he can pull this off. Okay. And I was right. Yeah, I think like watching Shazam, I think like whatever he did, whatever acting method he and the kid version of Billy Batson did together worked perfectly because they felt like the same character throughout the entire movie. It never felt like, it was Zachary Levi playing a kid. It felt like the kid, as Zachary Levi.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Zachary Levi definitely does act like a big kid. I really, if you ever get a chance to go to a comic book convention over the next couple of years, if you are going to one that has Zachary Levi there as a presenter, or he's getting the opportunity to have a Q&A sort of session, I would recommend going ahead and checking out Zachary Levi when you go to these conventions. It seems like he's a great guy, humorous as can be, great personality, and it definitely shines when he plays Shazam. So I thought they've done a pretty good job so far when it comes to casting a lot of these characters. It's just a shame that who knows whether or not we'll see Henry Cavill back in the cape again. But Zachary Levi and Black Adam, or I should say Dwayne Johnson, are definitely going to be having those roles for quite some time. So definitely should be fun. All right, guys. I think other than that, I think that will certainly do it for all of our live viewer questions and wrap up our show, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you very much, guys, for everybody that submitted your questions in. Some great comments as well over in the live chat, getting the opportunity to really have some great discussions with you guys and talk about some great topics today. So thank you very much to each and every one of you. And guys, we will in fact be back next weekend, as always, Sunday, live at 11 a.m. Central Time. Next week might be the last episode that we have at 11 a.m. Central Time, as we plan on moving APlus Hero Report to noon Central Time. So next week, 11 a.m. Central Time on Sunday. The week following, we'll probably be moving to noon once again. But we'll definitely go ahead and keep you guys posted on any significant changes that definitely happen here. But Stuart, I think that wraps it up for us here today, man. So if people want to reach out to you on social media, where can they find you?
You guys can find me. Oh, I forgot to put the tag on there again. But it's at TurboStew01 over on Twitter.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And of course, guys, if you want to follow us over on social media, you can do so right up here at the top. APlus Opinions. Find us at APlus Opinions. Very active over on Twitter. You can find us over on Instagram as well. And definitely check us out over on our Facebook page. If you want to be caught up throughout the week on brand new news, information, trailers, memes, posters, whatever drops, we definitely keep you posted throughout the week over on our Facebook page. And then we usually will grab some 6 topics from our Facebook page to talk about here every Sunday live for you guys. Plus, if you want to go ahead and join our Discord forum community, feel free to go ahead and do so. We do have a link in the description box below where we talk about a plethora of different topics around here. If you want to go ahead and continue to help us build our community outside of our YouTube channel. Also, if you haven't subscribed to us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, especially if you continue to love our content on a weekly basis. Hit that like button. It definitely does go a long way. And feel free to certainly leave a comment as well. And we'll definitely go ahead and continue this conversation throughout the week until next week's episode. But other than that, guys, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for us here. So in the meantime, do us a big favor. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.